those American Legion books.
Oh, good.
I need a gavel.
No, you're okay.
You think I can just put it in?
You don't have to. You
All
can
right.
sit.
I'm gonna call this meeting to order a little after 6:30. We will start with the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We will let the record show, I have received an email from trustee Hall. He will not be with us tonight. So that'll be our roll call for the moment. And before we move to adopt the agenda, I would like to propose a couple of minor changes to the order of the agenda for tonight. The first thing I want to do is, after we have adopted the agenda that we hopefully will approve now and approve our 4/16 regular meeting minutes, I'm going to propose that at that point, we move the appointment of Marion permanently up to that moment so that she is fully appointed and with us for the rest of the meeting. That's number one change. Number two is, when we get to old business, I only had revisiting the investment policy on there. But in the meantime, we have some information that we need to discuss, and it's probably old business, and it deals with the issue of whether this library should or should not have a credit card. So those are two changes that I would like to propose. Does anyone have a problem with that? Okay, so then in that case, we'll just consider that okay, and we'll approve that agenda as amended.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the amended agenda.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, very good. So we've adopted, now, we have the agenda from our previous meeting, which was the meeting of April 16th. Are there any changes, corrections, or anything else that we need to do
To the minute.
to those minutes?
You sent
You
me
said,
this.
yeah.
Minutes were published shortly afterwards. I have nothing to add, subtract, or otherwise. Anyone else?
No.
No, we're good. Okay, then I will entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
I'll make that motion.
Josh,
I'll second.
second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, good to go. And now, the important thing, or the thing that we changed the agenda for, we have received notice from the Civil Service Commission. And by the way, there's a new person who has replaced our former contact at Civil Service. Her name is Candy Plumley. She replaced Trish Kenninger, or Nettinger, I'm sorry, not Kenninger, Nettinger. And Marion has moved to rank number one on the list of people that are certified to be eligible. And we are in a position to appoint her formally and permanently as of now. And then we submit this back to the Civil Service Commission, and that makes it all official. Are there any questions about that?
Does the current language in her contract, does that stand if we appoint, or is there going to be?
Yes, that is not really a contract. It states in there that they are, do not constitute an employment agreement or contract. These terms are subject to change by us at our discretion.
Okay.
So at this moment, I'm not suggesting we make any changes, just that we appoint Marion, and then if we have considerations of wanting to change those provisions in the future, we can do that. That's within our purview. Okay, is that clear or no?
I guess. Are you saying that we can change her agreement at any point?
Yes, the terms are subject to change by the Rockwell Falls Public Library Board of Trustees at their discretion.
But we could also, I mean, what the change we could make would be to make a contract with her.
We could
That would
do a
be-
formal
Yeah.
contract perhaps, or we could make changes to this agreement that we set forth when we temporarily appointed her. Yeah, it's totally our discretion.
I'm all for the permanent appointment. I
Yeah.
just want to make sure we're settled on, making sure she has clarity on where she stands and.
For the moment, I think it's pretty clear in terms of this agreement, this statement of where you are, but
Well, are we moving forward the same language that she's under right now? 'Cause I
Yes.
guess that-
yeah,
No, not exactly.
what do you mean?
there's one issue that I wanted to address when we appointed or when we made changes, and
There's a
that
little bit of conflict in
Yes.
wording that
Yes.
really makes
there was
sense.
one little place that at least that needs to be adjusted.
Which one was that?
It was that it said both that she was salary and that she wasn't salary, essentially.
The wording was.
The wording is not,
correct.
it
That's
says
right.
both things at the same time.
Okay.
And that's
And
just
that can be
bad wording
We can straighten that up.
in
Okay.
the.
I just want her to walk away with the best sense of clarity and not to feel like this board is gonna change things on her left and right is what I'm looking for.
I don't think that's what we're saying. I think,
Yeah,
like,
No,
once the
I understand, I
Once the
wanna make sure
appointment
she
is
knows
made,
that.
then we would make, we weren't making
Yeah.
any changes
Yeah.
until we knew we had an
I've
appointment.
been given no reason to believe that the board is not 100% supportive of me and my position.
Okay,
And they have spoken to me that we do need to change the language and whatnot.
just need to get some consistency.
And, yeah, no, and I believe there's something in there about a 6-month review or something, which would be
Yes,
in
6 months
August.
review.
So.
Correct.
Which is usual.
Yeah,
Okay,
so, yeah.
all right. Any other questions on that?
I make a motion to permanently appoint.
Second?
I'll second that.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Welcome aboard, once again. Good to have you. Okay, quickly now, I've got a few things to talk about from the President's Report standpoint. Right now, we are engaged in budget workshops. The board and Marion are working on preparing the budget for fiscal '25. The first meeting of the workshop was the 16th of May. The next is scheduled for the 30th of May. These meetings, because there are a quorum of trustees, are open meetings and they're noticed on our website. So people are welcome to come and listen to the machinations that are occurring in those meetings. The goal that we set for ourselves in the last budget workshop was to have the proposed budget in place by the start of the next fiscal year, which will be July 2024. So that's that one. The second item that I want to mention tonight is the financial audit. Now, the previous board to us, this group that's sitting here tonight, awarded a contract for a financial audit for fiscal year '23. So that would have been not the one we're in now, but the previous fiscal year. And the firm is Bryan and Gramolia, and they would to have completed that sometime in early 2024. But one of the first things the new board did was in January, was to authorize Bryan and Gramolia to proceed. But owing to the fact that the library had been closed and there was a lot of chaos and whatnot, the timeline has been extended a bit and is nearing completion now. And we'll be having a discussion in the area of new business tonight regarding the findings so far and potential changes in the scope under the new, we're going to do that under new business, but I just wanted you to get a little background on that, okay? The other issue that we'll be discussing again tonight is getting a better return on the funds that the library has in the Glens Falls National Bank currently in a checking account earning interest of about 3 basis points. Rosemarie, our Vice President of Finance, and I met with the Glens Falls National people, and we were offered a program to maximize a return on the funds that we currently have sitting there in our checking account. So we'll be proposing a shift in that, but we're going to do that again under new business because it requires a full board approval. And the last thing I just wanted to comment on was that last night was the Sal's annual trustee dinner. They have one of those every year. They invite trustees from the board and so on to attend. Maggie Hartley and I attended last evening and we showed the flag for the Rockwell Falls Public Library. We were there. Okay. Vice President Finance report.
Okey dokey. So you each have a copy of the Excel sheet in front of you. We had several expenses this month. I'm going to just read through them, not to insult the board members, but to let folks out there know what we're talking about. So Mahoney Notify Plus, which is a quarterly security monitoring of our security system, is their invoice was $100.50. Midwest Tape for Hoopla services, $345.51. Sal's monthly JA fees, $308.34. For Green Acres, our monthly payment for them, $325 even. Waterhouse Heating Oils, our monthly payment has been $390. It's $489.38 because that's finishing up. That was the last delivery of the season and that was the balance, so it's not quite $490. We won't spend that 70 cents all in one place. Let's see, DiLorenzo and Associates, which is our bookkeeping service, is $172.50. Spectrum, $239.94. 80K Lock Incorporated, those were locksmith services that we received this month at $178 even. NYSIF is our disability insurance. That invoice dated 5/8 is $47.12. North Country Janitorial, our monthly payment for those folks with that's for our exchange of clean rugs in the library, $47.12. I'm sorry, $30.95. Demco, which is a company that's used primarily by our library manager and has been used in years past for library supplies, things to bind books and repair books and those kind of things that Marion needed. That was $245.14. National Grid, $643.05. That seems high. We're trying to we've had some trouble. That's what we owe. It's not too much money. It's not an overpayment, but what we're trying to do is get their invoices. We've had some trouble getting printed invoices from them, and so there's been some lag. So some back stuff, and this will take us through June. So when we see, I think June 8th, I think was that invoice.
Yes.
So it's more than we have seen, but it's making up for some past stuff that didn't get here in time, and it's taking us ahead into June. Then The Conservationist, that is a magazine. It's here. It's not usually in this space, or a subscription wouldn't usually be in this space, but because we haven't finalized purchasing venues yet, it is here. It's a 3-year subscription at $30. And then Whiteman, Osterman and Hannah is a $500 invoice for the second quarter retainer fee. We have a $2,000 yearly retainer with those folks now, and so every quarter it's a $500 portion of that. So that brings the total here to $3,655.43. We did have some deposits this month. We had 2 checks. This is on the second sheet you folks have. We had 2 checks from Utica National Insurance Group. They're dividend checks, one at $593.55 and one at $26.25. And then we had deposits from the front desk this month, which included a donation, $20 donation?
Yes.
$20 donation. Those front desk deposits totaled $156.55. And so the total deposits came to $776.35.
Any questions?
Any questions about anything there?
Okay, I move that we approve these warrants for payment.
I'll second.
Okay. Any further discussion on this? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
A few more
Thank you.
things to share from this perspective. One, an update on the CDs. They were renewed. They matured last month, April 22nd for one and 27th on the other. They have been renewed for 6 months. That was the highest. That was the choice that earned the highest possible interest rate of 4.81%. So we need to make a note. They'll mature again in October, and they'll need to be reviewed then in order to make the best renewal decision at that time, depending what interest rates are then.
Ree, what's the total in those 2 CDs? 66 something?
Yeah, it's about 66 and a little
66 and
change.
change, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, then this might not seem the topic really for a financial report, but I think that there are enough links to it that I'm going to put it here. And it has to do with FOIL requests. We've made lots of mention of FOIL requests early on. There were several of them that were pending, and we were struggling to figure out how to handle those. So I'm bringing it up here for 2 reasons. One is to acknowledge just the sheer cost of the man hours that have been spent resolving, 24 FOILs, and that's relevant to a financial report. We had, Marion and I did a lot of work with this. Marion spent untold hours initially just rearranging filing so that we could find materials with which to answer FOIL requests. And then we spent some time working together and working separately. And if we tallied, there's more than 40 hours that have been spent, more than 40 hours. Agreed. We had 40 hours plus 2 weeks ago, managing the FOIL request. So there are a couple of things that I wanted to share about that. One, as people make FOIL requests, we're here to answer those. We have an obligation to do it. We want to do it, but for people to make, the request is that people make requests of us for things they cannot find anywhere else. So the first place always to go if a party is looking for information is to the website. The board minutes are there. The finances that are in the minutes are there, the policies are there. And so that would be the first place to go. And then if you can't find what you want, speak to the library manager. She may have it or be able to direct someplace else. And then your FOIL request is kind of a last resort, can't be found anywhere else. The second concern here is that thing to share with you is that there are significant financial responsibilities on the part of the party filing FOIL request. In addition to copying fees, the library or any other entity, our accountant, our banker, our lawyer, all can levy research fees. It's commonplace. We haven't done it, but the fact that some of these the investigations to answer the questions require significant research and preparation time, and that time has to be compensated for. It's legal to charge for that. We did not charge for those hours this time, and we did not charge for copying either. It was the board, we talked about it, we felt that in light of the fact that some of these FOILs were very old, people had waited a long time for the information, in the interest of making this a happy place again, we decided that we would do the work and people could pick up their information without paying copying fees. And we certainly did not charge anyone for the research time. I spent some significant amount of time with a banker next door, finding some information and talking with them about it. They also generally levy research charges. They didn't do that. They understood kind of what we were doing. We had several conversations and they didn't charge us for their time either. I just think I'm bringing it up and I don't want to, ramble about it too far, but I think it's something that most people aren't aware of. I think people are used to the idea that they'll pay for copies and not so much that it's very usual and common for there to be a charge for the research time. And when you're talking about the manager's, time, that can become significantly expensive. They do add up. And this is a good time, since we're talking about FOILs, to share with folks that, not everything is FOILable. If there's a request and it doesn't fall within that realm, then the library manager will advise the person of such. The library is responsible for supplying FOILable information that we have, that's in our possession, which means we have it here in the library, it's on our computer-related accounts, it's accessible through our bank, our banker, our accounts there, our accountant, and our attorney. If those places have the information, we're responsible to get it to you. We are not obligated to research town, county, or state records. That's not our responsibility. And I mentioned before already that the first place for a requester to look for information is on the library's website. Board minutes and policies are there and do not require a FOIL request. Often a question can be answered there. And if a FOIL request is made for material that is available on the library's website, the library manager will direct the requester to the website. Individuals are to make their own requests and may not request a FOIL response for another person unless they are acting as a legal representative for that person. So that's just kind of an update. Some of that's new things that I learned. And because it was new to me, I thought it might be new to others, and so I've included it here. Okay,
And on that subject of foils, we've cleared a significant number of them at
Oh
this
my gosh,
point.
yes.
Out
I
of
have
that,
that as part of my manager's report.
oh, you do, okay, that's fine.
yeah, I'm just going to, to add to that, Ted, we had over 24. And one has to assume they each take several hours. They each are, the materials are found, there's a report, there's a cover letter for each, there's a form that the recipient needs to sign and acknowledge. It's a lot of work. And we're very excited at the end of it. We
Yes.
have, I don't want to steal your thunder, but it was a lot, and a lot of work has been done to get to that spot.
Marion, do you outline costs of a response to a FOIL request in your initial response letter?
I have not, because the way it was structured with, the way I was informed was that we were just gonna get it out there and we weren't gonna be charging them anything. But
So let's say I put one in today, and I think you get a certain amount of time to respond to me, to tell me how long it's gonna take you to respond. You would put the dollar amount in that response, correct?
yes,
Okay.
yes, that's typically the way it's done. I do know that we charge for copying. I didn't know that man hours were chargeable.
And that's a trick to give that amount initially, because one may not know how much time it's gonna take to find the answer. So
Right,
you have to figure out a way to do that, but
right. I understand the frustration for sure, but it is the public's legal right to file FOIL requests. So I don't want to seem like the board is saying, please don't file FOIL requests. It's your legal right. If you want to file a FOIL request, you go ahead and file a FOIL request. Obviously, they're a bit troubling when we get inundated with them, but it is the public's legal right to file. a
and no
FOIL
one is
request.
saying otherwise. I was just sharing with folks that there is some new information to me. I'm assuming that it would be new to other people as well.
Yeah.
That some of the questions that we were asked, that we did receive FOIL requests for, could in fact have been found on the website. That's all we're saying.
Okay, I think we got our hand in that pretty much, and we're not discouraging people from foiling. I mean, please have a question and you want to do that, do it. Fine. Okay,
Okay, and I have one more financial item here. And so one more time, we come to the credit card debate. So I want to share something that happened a few weeks ago. Well, actually, last month at the board meeting, we approved the purchase.
March was approved.
Right, we approved the purchase of shelving that had actually been a recommendation from our fire inspection. And so we approved the purchase of metal shelving so that material that's now kind of all over the place in the basement could be organized and shelved. Marion did the research to find, she had brought that to us, she found the best buy for the best product, the board approved that. Okay, so then we needed to pay for this. And so I took a check with 2 signatures and went to Home Depot, where the shelves were supposed to be, to find that they didn't have 12 units that were ordered and needed. They had 5, I think they had 5. And of course, so then they're offering me the opportunity of ordering them online, but I can't use the check online. So then their offer was, well, we can turn the check into a gift card, and then you can buy them online with the gift card, which I did not do because I don't think it's an easy thing to justify us using a library check to buy a gift card. So we didn't do that. What happened is, and it will happen, I think, is that right now we don't have a good purchasing policy. We just don't. There are places that we can use the checks with 2 signatures and go and pay for something. And there are places we cannot. You cannot use a check online. That just doesn't work. And we have found that some companies don't offer invoices for us to then bring to the board for approval. So we either have to come up with a credit card system or drastically alter the debit card system. Something has to happen so that online purchases can be made. There are just too many benefits and too many times when that's the best bet. We have, there's more of a variety of products that you can't find. There's competitive pricing, there's free delivery with online purchases. That doesn't happen, if at Home Depot, I didn't have, actually Marion, bless you,
I'm sorry.
had shared in her material to me that we had free delivery. When I asked about it, oh, we don't have free delivery from the store, we have free delivery online. So, that's something here too. So, we've had discussions here about, whether that's a good idea or not. It's been shared that the attorney advised against it, but I know most other libraries are using credit cards for purchasing. And the fact that we're a municipal entity doesn't change that. The town of Lake Luzerne is a municipal entity and they have a credit card that they use for purchasing. I checked. So they do.
The school does too.
Yeah.
So is this something we should then,
So,
take up under old business in terms of a board approval, or is that where we're headed?
yeah, we're
Yeah.
headed there. I want to
Okay.
share what I've learned so that may help the discussion.
Okay, great, because did I add that?
Yes,
Yeah,
you added
I
that
did,
to
okay.
the
I just
agenda.
Make sure.
Do you want to do this now or?
No, I think we'll wait for old business.
Okay.
Yeah. Is that okay?
That's fine.
Yeah, okay. All right, anything else?
No.
We're good, okay. Secretary?
I have no report.
No report, that's a very quick report, okay. And our manager, I see we have quite a document here.
I do, and I have some documentation for you to peruse. I have a lot of news and updates. Very excited to let you all know that I found the tax exempt letter. So that has helped with expediting purchases. I've also been in the process, I'm in the process of making sure all accounts I've already updated Amazon and Staples and Lakeshore are companies that we've worked with in the past, but we were being charged tax and they are now tax exempt. They have the letter, et cetera. I've also, I brought it up last month that I was concerned because there's been the other mountain for me to jump over is getting access to accounts and invoices not coming into my email, but I'm in the process. I'm pretty sure if I don't have all of them, I have just about all of them switched over to the Luz-Director at Sales for login to these accounts and invoices being sent to that. The reasoning behind that is in 10 to 15 years, when I gloriously get to retire, the transition will be much easier for the next manager. And then we won't have to be waiting until you have access to my email and trying to, I literally spent, I think, 3 hours on the phone a couple weeks ago with JA trying to manipulate all this stuff. So that's exciting that that's there. Just to piggyback on what Ree was just talking about, I have attempted to set up billing with Home Depot. They won't do it. All purchases have to be prepaid and free delivery is only available online. And once we figure out how we can buy them, I obviously don't have enough money in my petty cash account to do that. We're gonna need some help carrying the shelving upstairs and maybe putting it together. If somebody would like to do that, Home Depot will only deliver curbside. They will not carry it into the building, let alone up the stairs. So, you guys will see that you have it attached. There's a copy of the key policy. It's just a simple chart for me to maintain it. We have found 2 additional post office keys, I'm very happy to report. So we now have a total of 3. And currently 2 are kept in the front desk, and I have one on my keys so that I can stop at the post office on my way in from work, because I drive right by it. That's basically. I have a total of, for the exterior key, we do now have 10. I've had 4 extra keys made. I have one for Josh and Jason because they are second and third in line for the emergency should the alarm go off. And then 2 extra in anticipation of future employees. We have 6 total for the manager's key. I have one, Claire has one, and Ted is in possession, and we have 3 extra. They already existed. So I know this is a board thing, but the locksmith fixed their filing cabinet, and so they have enough keys for everyone to have one. And the same thing with the 2 filing cabinets in my office are also non-lockable thanks to the locksmith. So there's that. So summer programming is in the works. The process has begun with replacing the door handles on these two doors. They're a little tricky because the locking mechanism goes from the top to the bottom of the door. The locksmith has been in here twice and he thinks he's got it figured out. We're gonna do first one door. If that works like we're hoping, he'll do door number 2. So, and also many of you already know this. We have a new Facebook page. We've not been able, despite our best efforts, to get a hold of the old one. Unfortunately, that's still out there floating around and it seems to surpass us. I'm not sure how we can work on that. We're still working on that. But we do have a link, a direct link to our Facebook page, the new one on our website. And Claire has made posters that are all over the library with a QR code that you can scan and it'll take you right there. So that's news. Training, my manager training is completed. FOIL requests. All but one of the many FOIL requests that Ree has gone on about have been answered to the best of our ability. The only one that has not been taken care of is I'm still waiting for a response back from our lawyer as to whether or not we legally can answer that particular one. So pretty excited about that. Big weight off the shoulder. Donations. We've had a book donation from the American Legion Auxiliary. They are on display out front in our new book section. I've mailed them a thank you note today. If you haven't seen them, take a little look around. We have some addition of some beautiful artificial flower arrangements. They were a donation from the Wesleyan Church. A thank you note will be going out tomorrow for them. And something we need to discuss is the Historical Society would like to donate informational plaques to hang by these historical signs. Just kind of a little history explaining what the sign was and whatnot. It's no cost to us. They will do everything. We just have to say, yes, we would like it, or yes, we're okay with it.
Is that one of the cases where you get them to sign a disclaimer relevant to whether they get stolen or whatever, that we're not?
I'm not sure. That's a question we really need to talk to Robert about.
Okay.
They may have already done it because those forms that I found were under the old charter
Yeah.
and these have been hanging in here forever. So, but I mean, I know many people know what they all are, but not everybody does. I've lived here my whole life and I don't know what they all are. So,
All right.
on to statistics, 608 patrons in the last month, so we're continuing to be busy. We've managed to hold 8 separate programs. We've had story times 5 times. The book club has met once, and the crafting club, I think, only met once this last month. I think you guys missed 1 week. And we had our grand reopening celebration where we had 30 community members who came specifically for that. We had a few others that came in for other reasons and stayed. 550 circulations of physical materials and 230 circulations of e-content. My expenditures out of the petty cash, and I know we and I've already talked, but this is not exactly necessarily what petty cash is for, but it's the only resource I have right now. $220.14. Also, there is a copy of that receipt in your stack of papers here, along with a photocopy of the change store receipts that were deposited on the 5 Fridays since our last meeting, a total of $156.55. So the pile's not super bad, it's backup information for you guys to look at that verifies what I'm saying. Under personnel, I passed the civil service. I know that's old news now. Claire has also passed the civil service exam. And now that I am officially permanently appointed, I would also like to officially appoint Claire as full-time. She's a wonderful asset to the library and to me. I would also like to be able to give her some kind of a written agreement. She has nothing in writing. I realize we may need to discuss this later. And also would like to hire at least one more person for a minimum of 20 hours. Again, I know we need to discuss details.
Got that under new business.
So programs, still doing story time every Saturday at 11:30. The book club meets the second Thursday of each month, and the crafting club meets the first and third Thursday of each month. At the end of the month, we have a special program. Danger the Dino Hunter is going to be sharing with kids and reading some stories about dinosaurs, answering some questions, and bringing some of his dinosaur friends for them to meet and have pictures taken with. We also have a local from our town, Andrew Torino, who is known for his landscaping paintings, and he has expressed a desire to work with young children. And so he's agreed to come in and do a program just for the cost of his materials. So I'm very excited about that. And that is on June 8th, and then June 14th, we have an author coming in to do a writing and publishing workshop type education and a book signing. We have his current book and he has a new book coming out that he'll also be promoting. All are welcome, targeted to our teenagers, but so excited. And calendar events is hopefully coming soon.
Who's that author?
Andrew Valenza, I think that's how you say his last name. Buildings and grounds, this is another one of the, I just gave you the paperwork so you know what I'm jabbering about. The town of Luzerne is in the process of checking the type of pipe that we have that runs the water into the building. They said if we wanted assistance to let them know, I've let them know, and they said somebody will be by to check it out. And then recap, more seating in the backyard, to enable the community to enjoy our beautiful backyard, possibly a trash receptacle back there. Want to fix the patio and the center circular display or have them removed. Currently, they're not considered great. And the contract with Green Acres expires the end of June. And I do have a template that you will see in your stack of things here, of a proposal that I started putting together, for a bid of what we'd like to have. Obviously, things can be added or deleted. This was just, based on the email exchange we've had over the last few weeks. And attached to that, I did started a landscaping and threw in a washing of the exterior of the building, maybe once or twice a year. I believe they're 3 separate, but that's something we can talk about.
And that's under new business. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Other concerns, employment posters. I got a thing in the mail for them. That is this poster guard. This is a place we can get them. I don't know if that's the only place. I've just begun it, but we don't have any of these posters, and they just display your rights to the state and the federal government as an employee. And I believe we're required to have them. Window in front of the library has been broken. I have been trying to get a hold of someone. I'm still waiting to hear back from some. And then just a list of my projects. Want to insulate the library, energy efficient windows and doors, better lighting in my office, possible window to the outside of my office. What's a natural lighting? Repairing and painting the wall exposed with new shelving. We want to build a wall in that room to help create a young adult / teen room. We need a handyman. I've asked Teddy, he's not available to do that. And then just the flooring, I've noticed in spots, there are some cracked places. And there is a nice little sink in our break room. Emphasis on little. Would like to look into possibly either getting a slightly larger sink or a taller faucet, just to make it easier to use.
Now, some of those items are what we might consider to be regular maintenance, or limited maintenance
Yes.
survey and budget, but others are fairly significant and will require the expenditure of a considerable amount of money. For
Right.
example, if you insulate the library, or if we do the electrical work that we were talking about And I think that the distinction that we will make as the budget workshop committee continues will be to categorize those. And then in the general operating budget, we're gonna try to incorporate the kinds of things that are the regular maintenance and the stuff that you just, everybody needs to do because you're a homeowner or whatever day to day. But when you get to a big major project, that's something we'll probably have to dip into reserves and use the monies that we've got sitting in the bank to take care of those, and then we need to decide how important those are. So I think that those will all be taken up as we go forward in the budget side.
So you rescheduled, I didn't make it to the budget meeting because the original one was rescheduled. Will there be a line item for projects so we can prioritize the projects and choose a project each year or something of that nature?
No,
So we're
actually,
at least gaining some ground on this stuff.
yeah, actually at the last, which you missed, we determined that we really need to do an operating budget that deals with these day-to-day maintenance things and so on, and then on the side, another budget for those projects. So that it isn't something where we're trying to take the current operating funds and do these major projects, but we're looking at it as major capital, major project kind of work. So it's a two-portion thing, and there was more discussion to come, which will happen in the next meeting.
And there's
I
a
do
process for something called reserve, for monies to be put in reserve, but there's a specific process for that you can put monies into reserve to be appropriated for a major project, or a major capital project.
Yeah, and we gotta get our arms are simply not around the issue of the 290, or I don't know what the number is today, but it was 300 a while ago. That's sitting there, exactly what the status of those monies are and what they'll be used for. And so the budget committee is gonna try to dig into that and determine it. So we have no guidance at this point. And so that's where we're going with that.
I would like to see at least one of the projects on the budget so we can make sure that it gets done in the next year.
Well, there's no reason we can't decide to do it. I mean, we can have that as a separate item.
As such, it
Yeah.
needs to be named,
Yeah,
you know.
I agree with you. I mean, there are things that need to be done. There's no question.
And some things that we've talked about, we're not even really sure they need to be done. Like, we don't know what the project would be. We're talking about insulation or, checking the electric in this building just to make sure it's adequate. We first need to have someone come in whose expertise is that and tell us if it's necessary
Mhm.
or
Yeah.
only partially necessary, like we need to do that first, but, yeah, we could certainly put something on the budget, no doubt. There just is there's a process.
We don't want to
we
lose
can
track of them.
Appropriate monies for that.
We do not want to lose track of these things. And I think that's where we need this list. You got the operating budget and the kind of regular maintenance things, and then you got these other projects that need to be done. If you put it in the budget, then we've got to come up with a way to augment the revenues, so you have a balanced budget. And the question is, how do you?
I don't think there's an issue balancing the budget.
Well, I don't think there is for now. But we've got to, that's just to keep it all on the up and up, so everybody knows, here's where the money's coming from, here's how we're spending it. So, yeah, that'll be a good discussion. I think, hopefully you'll be at the next, and I don't think we're gonna change that 30th. I think we'll be here for that.
The other
Information.
option is applying for grants,
Yeah,
which
now-
I have had zero time to look for because I've been very involved with everything else. But that is something that I do plan to look into as well. I do know that there is a small building grant. It's only like $5,000. And the deadline was like the end of April, so I barely started. That may be a possibility for some things.
And we have secured grants, small grants before for the library that,
Yes.
that have helped. One of the courses of action for us to take, even if we're not ready to pay for some of these things, is to have the preliminary inspections done so we can ascertain, are there places for insulation, for example, and where? So that when a grant comes available, we already have our particulars. You need that information to apply for the grant in the first place. So, you haven't lost anything because we're not ready to apply for those grants.
Right.
We haven't done the homework yet to know what to ask for. I've done them, and you need to have quotes, and you need to have information about exactly what you're doing and what the expected cost is before you apply for the grant, so.
I guess
We
I'm
can
just
start
saying, we
working
know
on
that
that.
those are options and
Yeah.
that it's on my
Yeah.
radar,
Yeah.
but it's just.
Good. Any other questions?
So did you add the green makers, that thing to new business?
We're talking about the groundskeepers bid. Yeah, that's a new
Okay.
business item. We got that
Okay.
on the agenda. We put it on. Okay,
Okay.
all right. Do we have a report for the strategic planning committee?
Sure.
Okay,
Short and sweet. We have a great group working together. We have completed the survey questions. It's a double-sided sheet with 5 demographic questions and 5 aspirational questions. So what we've done is, we've asked community members in lots and lots and lots of constituent groups. Each member of the committee has been assigned or taken on several constituent groups and is making contact with those groups to figure out how best to share the survey with them. We're gonna leave it and pick it up, we're gonna meet with them in meeting, we're gonna invite them here. But the surveys are done, they're getting out, we'll be collecting them back. We've asked in the aspirational questions for community members to comment on the kind of community they want, not just what the library is or what the library can do for them, but what kind of community would they like to live in? And how might their organization contribute to that goal in the community and in the library, those kind of things. So the service organizations that we've contacted, I'm really looking forward to seeing what they have to share with us, because those are the folks in the trenches who are seeing what the needs are, and to have them share with us. So we're doing that. The survey is now online. Maggie's going to organize some focus groups so that we're not relying just on a paper survey, which traditionally doesn't give us, 90% return. But it's out there, it's on the website, and we'll be looking at some focus groups. We still are we're still wanting to get this finished by the middle of July or so, especially in light of the fact that it's a little late. We've been out of compliance without it. And we've set, am I gonna remember this date, right? June 19th, I think.
Yes.
It's June 19th, as the deadline for completing the survey, so that we have time to kind of collate that material.
Right. And we're also pushing it, promoting it on the Facebook, and then there's the link on the Facebook page takes you right to the website to fill it out.
okay,
That's it.
thank you. Okay, moving to old business, we switched around a little bit on the agenda, and we want to take up the issue of the credit card first, since we had before completely eliminated, and we're finding this is a particularly difficult way to operate. And you have some additional information to provide us on
Sure.
what's happening with other libraries and so on with respect to credit cards. Apparently, and you're the only one that was here at the time, we got into some, I don't want to say trouble, but there were some things where there were missing receipts and so on. And
There was a refusal to submit receipts that validated charges, and we've seen FOIL request records since that kind of are shocking and
Yeah,
discouraging as far as how, what would lead us to believe why they were reserved and weren't submitted.
so in my mind, this is a function of control in terms of the board and the people who are responsible. Does that necessarily say credit cards are a bad idea? I don't know. I guess that's the discussion we want to have.
Well, allow me to
So,
share just
I should
a
we've got
little
some
bit
stuff in there.
more, because this has been a conversation that we've had, and the point is valid. Things weren't done well before, and we don't want to repeat those mistakes. So I reached out to the New York State Library and that office. Lauren Moore is the state librarian. I spoke with Mary Beth Farr, who is the liaison on her behalf, and said, here's our conundrum. We're in need of a credit card. There's some reluctance to have one. There's been some advice from the attorney that we should not have one. Yet we're finding that every other library we've talked to does have one. And we're also finding that we're having difficulty procuring, approved purchases. So she advised me just verbally there. I said, I don't get it. If we're not supposed to, how are all the other libraries using them? And she said, they all have them and you need a credit card. And I said, okay, but how can we support that? She said, given what your library's been through, let me find something substantial for you to stand on. and give me a couple days. So she did, and she got back to me and surprisingly gave me references back to our own trustee handbook, the same handbook that we're all supplied as trustees. And gave me references within. So on page 80, which looks at the Office of the State Controller's audits, bulleted beneath that is things that we should be, particularly paying attention to, in addition to the audit process and cash handling procedures and purchasing procurement policy. The fourth bullet is credit card policy. Who may use credit cards and for what specific purposes? So the fact, to my way of thinking, it's here, it's in the handbook, the trustee handbook that's supplied to every library in New York State, and it's clearly alluding to the fact that credit cards are used. We need to be diligent in our fiduciary responsibility there. On page 180 in the trustees handbook is the second page of two-page checklist for recommended policies. And under recommended policies for financial controls is credit card, the third note there. So this just, it's confusing because we do have legal advice that says you probably shouldn't, because, and the reason for that was that it records as debt. But technically we have debt. We've been making a monthly payment. We make a monthly payment to cover a budget plan to cover the oil. We have invoices that come to us every month, and technically they're until we pay the bill. The fact that other libraries, and I talked to several library directors, they said you just have to. The online purchasing is just part of the year we're in. You just can't buy everything with a check. And even if you could, we can't find everything that we need here with a check. So, I think we just really need to revisit this and look at it. There's nothing that says we can't make the most stringent control features on it. Certainly we have a different library manager. We have, I think, a different atmosphere in our library. We have different board. Everybody's looking to be, transparent and make sure that the records are kept. And that's the biggest issue that we found in looking at the FOILs. It wasn't that there was malfeasance financially. It seems to be that the records were not kept well. We couldn't find records when we needed to find them. There's no reason we can't have a credit card and with, Marion's diligence, maintain all those receipts. There's no reason we can't ask for purchase to be made with a credit card to be approved by the board first. There's all kinds of things. We can decide how we want to do that, but we're going to have difficulty purchasing things that the board has approved for purchase without a credit card.
So you mentioned that my reason was because there was abuse. There definitely was abuse. That's not my reason though. My reason is because Robert, our attorney, didn't say we probably shouldn't. He said we should not. We should not incur any debt.
Mhm.
And so that's my position. The handbook is not law. It's just a handbook that some library district puts together and then presents, and it's widely accepted. It's not law.
Actually, it's not a law, but the state librarian under New York State and answerable to the regents, as are we, has put it forth.
Just because everyone else is doing it doesn't mean we should. It's our responsibility to do what's in the best interest of the library, and our attorney says, do not do this.
Okay,
You
so
will always have a
the
notebook
best-
to
the
incur
best
debt.
Easy, one at a time, please.
the best
One at a
interest
time,
of,
one at a time.
Right, and I was talking and she
Okay.
interrupted
No,
me, so let me continue.
No, let her
Also,
finish.
there's
Would you
a
please be-
contradiction.
I'm asking you to stop.
Are you gonna pound the table?
Yes, I
Really?
am.
You don't. Private meetings,
Yes,
huh?
I am. Yes.
okay,
Go ahead,
I
and
just
I
wanted-
will then
I
recognize
just
you.
wanted to say.
It says in the
that-
handbook, you wait to be recognized, so please do. Go ahead.
I just wanted to share that I understand that we've all had different opinions, and I was trying to, by reaching out to the highest office I know who could give us an answer, to the state librarian's office, to find out what is normal, what is being done. I don't know another way to do it. I would share, and I'm not trying to be sarcastic about this, that my attorney often gives me advice. It's up to me whether I take it or not. And there are times when we just need to use our common sense. We cannot make purchases. We're 2 months after the fire inspector recommended shelving for the library, and I can't get it any other way with the policies we have. That's all I'm saying. We have to do something different.
Okay, I want to make sure you're done, so I can finish it
Please
off
do.
without you interrupting me,
Go right
okay? So, there is a contradiction with our petty cash account and the actual current purchasing policy. The purchasing policy that says that Marion has the ability to spend $1,500. Our petty cash is $250. I don't know what it is. So there's a problem there. Legal counsel says no, it should be a no. There are other options. We could do a prepaid credit card. We could do something with a debit card where we continuously refund it. I'm not sure why we keep revisiting this and we're not looking at those other options as viable options. We should be striving to work within the parameters of the same attorney that we just agreed to be put on retainer for. If we don't trust his advice, why did we just rehire him?
Well, we don't always take the advice of the attorney. And that do that in your
That
private
seems
life.
very
you do that in your
irresponsible to me.
business.
That just, it should hurt coming off the tongue when you say that.
I understand what you're saying.
I think that our attorney represents lots and lots of libraries, so it might be interesting to find out if any of those libraries are also using the credit card, because from what I'm hearing from the state librarian and the librarians that I have talked to, they are using credit cards.
Absolutely.
Josh. So, you know,
So maybe we need a little more research in this area, a little more conversation with our attorney, and see if there is some compromise that couldn't be worked out to make it easy to do what we need to do, but to maintain full control. The real problem, this library had a credit card for years. The problem occurred when people stopped paying attention to how it was being used. That's my understanding. Is that a bad understanding?
The attorney says no.
Well, I
That's my
understand
understanding.
what the attorney said.
That trumps everything else.
Yeah.
I mean, all those conversations are important, but the attorney says, do not do this.
Yeah.
That means I say, hey, I'm not gonna do it. I mean, that seems responsible to me.
But
Can I ask a question? Is there anything that would prevent us from, if we, for example, say, Marion, you're approved to spend $1,500 on shelving, to move $1,500 into the debit account so that she can use that card? It's not as safe to use the debit card on online purchases as it is to use a credit card, though, because it doesn't have the protections that a credit card has. Fraud protections,
Right.
et cetera.
That still takes me back to my main point. though.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
still
Yeah,
go back to,
No, I'm just trying
attorney
to-
says no.
I'm just trying to figure out a way that we could
For sure,
do
there's
this, and
there's
if
prepaid credit cards, there's transferring, if we want to.
prepaid credit cards also cost a lot of money.
No, not necessarily.
And in terms of debt, you can pay down the credit card every month and you're not incurring any debt. So that's not an issue either.
no, our credit card, if we, to have a credit card, I would assume that it would be paid in full every month.
Mhm.
We're not going to carry debt on it.
Right.
We would use that credit card statement like an invoice. We're just paying it immediately. I wouldn't want to do anything else, other than that.
so
Should we be going back to Robert and getting
I'm
some
getting that.
clarification about like, does no mean no?
Sure.
Does no mean I would prefer
No,
not?
Maybe, and,
there seems to be a real disconnect between what
What
he's
everyone's doing.
saying and what everybody else is doing. And I understand what you're saying, just because everybody's doing it, maybe we shouldn't. But again, we don't want to have our arms tied because we had some unfortunate instances where people weren't paying attention. If that had never happened, I suspect we would still be rolling along with a credit card. We never would have asked the question.
I can tell you that
Everything
either way, what I will do, and I've already done it with the petty cash fund, which is only $250. And I'm using it to get things for the library that I need a credit card for, because I have no other
Right.
means to do that. But obviously, I don't have $800 to buy the shelving.
Right.
But I ordered from Amazon, you have it, and when the bank statement came in for that account, I stapled it to that and I handed it to
Sure.
Reed. Plus, I have a copy in my filing cabinet, so no matter what way we go, that's the way it's gonna be, because like with the credit card, I know, because I've been messing with the files for the last 3 months. I would have duplicate copies, one to go under their heading, if you will, in my filing cabinet under supplies, books, whatever. And a duplicate copy would be attached to that.
Perfectly traceable.
Perfectly traceable, and it's all together, and I'm doing that with the bank statement now for Reese, so she has that, and I would just do the same thing. Whatever you decide, it's just, I feel like my job as the librarian is to make your job a little easier so that I can just do something, but
So I'm hearing two things right now. One is we've got to solve the instant problem of getting these shelves.
Yeah.
And it seems to me we can load the debit card with enough money to do it and get that done. That seems to be within our purvey. And number two is a little more research and maybe a call with the board and Robert to talk this through with all the information we have that's counter to what he's telling us. Sometimes I understand what you're saying, but sometimes, you don't always, the attorney gets you out of trouble as well as getting you into trouble. So,
That's not a good statement.
well, anyway,
That is not a good statement.
I'm sorry, but
That's
that's
an
my.
irresponsible statement.
Okay,
Thank you.
let's move on.
Can we
the
do,
point
can
is-
we do the credit card, can we fund the debit
I can
card?
move money from the checking to the
Yeah,
debit
And
and
we
the
can
amount
get
of
the
the
shelves.
shelving.
Yeah, and the
Yeah.
shelving's been approved, so that's a
Right.
perfectly good transaction. We have everything to do. You
Yep.
can just do that. I don't think we need to approve that. That can be done. Okay?
Because it's already been approved. so-
Yes, okay. All right, and then we'll move forward on that in terms of additional information.
So you will contact Robert to get
Yes,
more
and we will
information.
get this, we'll get a meeting with this board. And we will get that straightened out. Okay, second item on the old business was revisiting the investment policy. Josh, you put this policy together and we asked me to run it by Robert and he said, don't adopt it. It has to be redone. I believe I sent you an email with his suggestions. Would you be willing to take a crack at rewriting this policy?
Sure. And one of the things that he wants rewritten is the thing that we went against his advice on and did what we wanted to do. So he wants it to be legal, right?
Sure. And
So it's a pattern
strictly,
that we have.
it's not strictly for CDs either in terms of investment. It's more than CDs. And I think what he gave us was from the Albany Public Library, but I'm not sure that's exactly what we need. But if you can proceed with that, maybe we can put that on for new business or old business next time.
I'll get it done.
Okay, great. Okay, we did appoint Marion. The other item on the agenda now is to, let me make sure this is, anybody following us with this. There are two things hanging out there. One is an opportunity for purchasing the computer through Sal's at a real good discount for the front desk. And the other is whether or not we want to buy one of these owls, because right now we're on the good graces of Sal's not renting that, but could take it back at any minute.
Yeah.
Everybody understands that we're not online, but we are being observed somehow, or how's it work?
It's a Zoom.
It's an online, people have
It's
logged
someone
in.
Zoom, yes.
Yeah, okay,
this is live,
Live.
and then she also adds the recording next to the business minutes.
right. So, first of all, question is, for the computer for the staff, that's replacing one that's out of date and doesn't have the programs on it that you
Right,
want?
it's JA approved. The two laptops that we currently have are not JA approved. One of them, I have no idea how old it is. The other one, I did find that she bought it, I think, 2 or 3 years ago through Staples. So if anything goes wrong with it, we're SOL. If it's through JA, they fix it. It also comes preloaded with the Microsoft Office Business Suite 2021, which I believe is the most current one. Polaris comes on it, so we can use it, if we needed to be mobile with the books, because I know like last year, when we had enough staff, we were able to go down to the playground and work with the youth program to do book exchange. I don't know how she did the book exchange because you can't download that on there, but it has all their softwares. It has the anti-spyware stuff that's on all of our other computers. And the one that I've chosen is just for the 3-year instead of the 5-year because technology is changing at such a rapid pace.
And the cost?
It was the cost, I believe it was $990, but again, it comes preloaded with all of the software
Okay.
and the JA backing.
And the owl?
The owl is, I believe it's just over $1,000 on Amazon. which was where JA said we could either purchase it through Amazon or they can purchase it for us and then they would bill us.
Are they gonna help us with it? Are they gonna train us and?
I'm
If we
sure
have-
certain that they will, yeah, because we just spent Wednesday, Jack Scott came up and worked with Claire and I. We're using Teams tonight and not Zoom, because that's something that's been asked of us to do, because there's something that's more in-house, because that's part of the Microsoft Office 365 that we have.
Okay.
So you think it's a good idea for us to own one of these as opposed to just?
I think it's a good idea. I mean, I don't know what the odds are of Sal saying, hey, somebody else needs it. I mean, it's theirs. They can call it back whenever they want.
People have come to expect that we will be online with us.
Yes, and I've had, community members stop me and say, hey, you know, and mention something about it, and they're watching online or they're watching the recording later.
And we do get a recording as a result.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or any other community vision, comments, suggestions, or this is
Do you have
appropriate to
anything to
make,
add,
these- we need to approve these purchases.
Oh, she's not on the.
No, but she's a technical person for me.
Okay? Any other discussion on that? Is it entertain a
If we
motion?
plan on using it, we should buy one, so we're not holding it up on sales.
Would be this, or an owl, and it would be the, computer for.
So it'd be roughly $2,000 for everything, but I believe JA will bill us for the computer.
Okay, and you said they could buy it and bill us for this too, so until we
Yes.
solve the credit card issue, we don't have to deal
Right.
with it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
At no extra cost. I hope.
Right,
Okay,
What exactly is the computer? Is it the desktop? Is it a
it's
different?
a laptop and
So
it's
it's an
only,
alternate.
and it's just for staff. We didn't get one for patrons, we can do that, they're more money. But I just thought it was just necessary, like for Claire and I to have access to
and
it,
we've got, what, 4 or 5 of them out there for patrons?
for
Computer.
desktops, yes.
Yeah, desktops.
What will be your capabilities on the laptop?
Anything I can do on my computer in the office, I
You
can
can
do
check
on
it
that.
in and out, that kind of thing?
Yeah.
Cool.
Makes
Make a
sense.
motion to buy?
Latest technology.
I'll second the motion.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Hi.
Approved. Okay, we'll do that. Next item is the current financial audit, and I will tee this discussion up because we have had a number of discussions, I've had a number of discussions regarding this situation. And first of all, background, the audit is not, a financial audit is not required for our library. But the previous board, in their August 22nd, 2023 meeting, decided it would be appropriate to do an audit for fiscal year '23. And they awarded that contract in August, and then everything got chaotic. And so the audit was not allowed to proceed, and we went around and around, but we had already committed to it. In January of 2024, we told the auditors that they could proceed. The auditors are Bryans and Gamolia, the name of the company. They bid and won that bid. And so they are proceeding with that. The timeline originally was that they would have this done early this year, but it's now working its way towards finishing up now, okay? So the issues are that they have requested a number of documents which are receipts for their credit card statement. And those are simply not available. We have looked everywhere and could not find those receipts. And so we can't comply with that request. In that case, the auditors are indicating to us that they will not be able to render what's called an opinion. So that's the formal finalization of things saying, hey, we looked at everything, we got what we needed and so on, and here's our opinion of how things are running. The question I asked was, could you render a qualified opinion in some way in order to get around the idea that there are some things missing, we know they're missing, you could make that comment. They were very reluctant to do that. And in fact, if they proceed to finish it on the basis of being purely a financial audit, they will end up making a disclaimer saying, hey, we don't know. And that's a fair approach, and it's a fair answer. So the answer was, or not the answer was, but the suggestion was that with no additional fees or anything else, we can switch what they're doing to an operational audit, where they will take everything they've learned in looking at all the financials for fiscal year '23 and make recommendations to this board for policies, procedures, and other things that need to be tightened up to make sure that we then, if we do a full financial audit, we can be in compliance. The other thing is, because fiscal 2024, which is the year we're in and finishing, was such a chaotic time, they'll run into the very same problem if they attempt to go ahead and do that again. So the idea was, let's pause for fiscal 24 and move to fiscal 25 for a full financial audit. That gives this board a chance to respond to everything that they might come up with and suggestions from the standpoint of operations, the kinds of policies, the kinds of procedures, the things that went awry, the things that we can do better and should do, and we should have policies for, and will then allow us to move forward. So that's the proposal at the moment. And we need some discussion on that. I mean, we can allow them to finish, but we're gonna get, what I say is no opinion, no qualified opinion, probably a disclaimer, and very little recommendation from the standpoint of the operations in terms of what it is we should be doing to, I'll say, clean up our policies and procedures to make sure that we're on track. Comments, suggestions, questions, whatever, that's where we're at this at the moment.
I guess it depends on what answers are you looking for? Are you looking to find out if there's impropriety over that year, or are we looking to just how to better run the
Well,
library?
without them being able to find the receipts that back up the charges, they can't render what's called an opinion,
Gotcha.
okay?
So we can't add that.
So we
That's the
can't,
reason
what
for
they are
changing
will
the
be,
focus.
I mean, we'll pay a lot of money for something that isn't gonna tell us a whole lot. If we get them to switch to the idea of providing us operational audit, okay, we'll still have the benefit of what they found was not there in terms of the books and in terms of the receipts. And we'll be able to take their recommendations into account, modify our policies and procedures, and be more on what I'll say the up and up is for years to go forward. So that's the plan, and they're willing to do that, no additional fee, and probably can proceed to finish that up by the end of this fiscal year. That's the latest at this point. So I think what this board needs to do is to say is that, does that make sense? A, and B, authorize me or us to tell them, okay, we'll go in that direction, and that's the kind of report we're expecting from you at this point, with lots of recommendations and reviews of the procedures, et cetera, as well as the financial stuff that isn't gonna get reported in terms of an opinion, okay? Hey,
What's the cost? What's the difference in cost to go with a different report?
nothing, zero, they'll go for the same.
And then can we submit credit card statements? Obviously, we don't have the receipts because there was a refusal to submit receipts, so we never had receipts. But can we submit the credit card statements that were just recently obtained through FOIL requests so they can actually see where the monies were spent?
Oh, yeah, I
They-
think, yeah, they've got those,
Yeah, they have those, but they have the credit card statements.
We
Can I
provided,
interrupt?
no, I'm sorry, we provided them all, right?
We
Yeah.
provided those to the auditor. The problem is that there are places like, for example, we kind of figured this out after a while. The credit card statement will say $400 was spent at a department store. And we don't have a receipt to show what it was for. We did find a notation later that seems to indicate that that expenditure was for a vacuum cleaner that's in the closet. But we don't have a receipt to prove that, so it looks shady. You know, it probably, I mean, it certainly does look shady. We don't know,
Right, there was a liquor store, a veterinary
Yes.
clinic on there.
Yeah.
right?
Yes,
There
yeah, on the
and-
receipt for that.
yeah, we found those, and they have those. And that's exactly the reason that the record keeping needs to be top notch, you know, so those receipts can be, you know, so we could do that. When we did, the auditor does have all the credit card statements. It's just that they're
There's nothing to
nebulous, and we
back
can't prove that they were for the library, like the ones that you mentioned. The one for Kohl's, we just kind of, I found another note someplace else that seemed to imply that was for a vacuum cleaner, but there's no proof of that.
I've got all the files organized, they're not there. And I
We
don't
went
have
through
access to the
everything.
digital files and
They're not there.
they're not there.
No.
I think multiple people have looked for them. and they're just-
So we would get the benefit of what they found from a financial point of view in terms of the numbers, but also the recommendations that they would make in looking at it from an operational standpoint, and there would be no increase in the fee. That's the status at the moment.
Obviously, we are where we are. We have to move forward.
Sure.
But this is a major disappointment to this community that's been reeling with FOIL requests and issues for the past year and a half
Yep.
because of the financial impropriety. And so this is a situation where this is the culmination of a refusal to submit records when spending was happening. And it's disappointing to say the least.
We certainly are not going to tolerate that at this point. So is there anybody feel we should not take their offer to do the operational piece along?
If we do not, will we have to pay the second portion of the funds?
Yeah, because then they'll go and they will issue either it won't be, I've already told you, it won't be a qualified opinion. They'll probably do a disclaimer. They'll provide all those details and that's it. And we owe them for what they've done. We owe them for the work that they've done to get to this point.
Would they basically just tell us what we already know, that the receipts
Well,
have been?
No, there's more than that. There's
Okay.
recommendations that would be coming.
No,
If
we
go
do the
this way,
operational budget,
if we
yeah.
go this
No,
way,
I'm talking about if we go with the
Otherwise,
plan
no.
as it has been right now.
right.
They're just gonna tell us what we already know.
Right. But to me, it seems like it's the only way out of it in terms of getting the best advice and the best return on what we've already agreed to spend for this. We'll get the numbers and we'll get the recommendations as well and pay no more. That's,
So we get what they've already done,
yes,
plus they're gonna evaluate us and tell us how we can be better.
lots of recommendations that we then can work on and so on in order to improve the way we operate, operational side.
That makes sense.
And that's
to me.
really the goal, is to move forward and just do
I've
everything
never,
better.
ever get to where we were before.
Right.
Right. I think everybody agrees on that.
Okay, so I will make a motion that we proceed in that fashion with Brian's and Gamolia to allow for operational audit and recommendations. And when we get those and evaluate them, then make the decision, as I said before, pausing fiscal 24 probably makes a lot of sense. Moving to fiscal 25, when we'll have had a full year of operations under this board. And they have agreed to also to hold their fee for that period of time as well.
To hold it at the same rate.
Yeah,
For more money to do 25.
same, well.
No, we've already
it's
paid
the
for
same-
two.
same
It was a
fee.
2-year that
It's
we,
a 2-year thing, 13,000 for 1 year, 13,000 for the other.
Hmm.
It's the
but
same-
we've already contracted them for the 2 years, right, Ted?
Yes,
So that's
So
already
there's
there.
no additional monies other than what we've already contracted.
that we're
Exactly,
committed to, that's
exactly.
correct. No more money to be spent, and for us, I think, some additional benefit in terms of the operational recommendations. That's where I'm coming from. So
It
that's
seems
my-
that way to me too, that we can't obviously get what the plan was initially to get this audit because we don't have, the records are not there. So this way we will get an operational audit, we'll get advice. We can follow that advice and then get, when things are back in order, we can have another audit of 2025.
Right.
Fiscal 2025.
So that, I guess, that's that's what I'm moving, that we do. Anybody second on that?
Well, I think it would be, I don't have a
Okay,
vote on the
second.
board, but I think it would be very, very helpful because we've had a lot of questions about
Yeah.
policies. We've had a lot of discussions. And I think it's the general consensus of everybody in front of this room here. That we want to do things the right way.
Ted, is your motion to approve the operational budget and the 2025 audit? Both of those,
I wasn't putting the 2025, just
Just
move
motion
this one to
approve the
just
operational.
the operation.
But without the 2025, you're gonna do 2024, correct?
Yeah, we probably.
It doesn't make sense to
It
do
doesn't make sense to do
2024, does it?
2024, because we're gonna run into the same problem.
So we should,
Why don't we
if
just
you're
make,
doing two motions or one motion.
yeah, I
Well,
think we
let's
can
make it-
do it
let's
one
make
motion.
it- I'll amend the motion to say operational for fiscal 23 with the details, full financial for fiscal 25.
Okay,
Second,
Second,
any more discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next item. It's indicated on the agenda as the consideration of moving funds for something called the ICS account. Okay? And basically, Rosemary Gardner, the VP Finance, and I had a long discussion with the Glens Falls National Bank local manager and the Glens Falls National Bank Vice President for Municipal Banking Relationships. And it turns out, if any of you recall from our previous meeting, the local branch manager, the right next door, made a proposal to allow us to take some funds and put them into a checking account that would earn a greater interest rate than we are earning on the money that's sitting there now. There would be a limit to that at that point. I think it was 190,000 of the 300. We would get a better rate and we would be able to move that money at will. It turns out that he was not totally up to speed in terms of what they allow in their banking regulations in their system. So the vice president came and met with us and straightened everything out from his perspective and ours. And the proposal, I think I sent this out as an email ahead of time. Okay, but what they do, first of all, everybody should understand that as a municipal organization, we are not allowed to have any more than $250,000 in any bank unless it's collateralized in some way. We have a letter which is declaring that all of our funds, and at this point we have about round numbers, 60,000 in CDs and a little less than 300,000 in cash as checking account. All of that is in excess of the 250,000, but because we're a municipal organization, the bank must collateralize it, and we have a letter officiating the fact that they've done it. So we're on the up and up from that perspective. What they're offering us is the ability to take some of the funds from the 300,000 that's sitting in the checking account, earning 3 basis points, that's 0.03%, and move it to something called the ICS system, where they collateralize all the funds amongst a number of banks, and they're able to pay us about 5% at this point. So it's a substantial increase in the investment for that money that's sitting there. And if we put the money in that account, it can be instantly moved back to the regular checking account for any bills that come due. The only hitch, the only difference is we go into a system which is called analysis. And so they look at all of the things that we're doing in terms of deposits, withdrawals, the fee to have the account open, et cetera, and they determine a minimum amount that we have to keep in the general checking account to cover those funds, which would be a charge. And the numbers that they came up with for last time was we would have to have a balance of about $43,000 in a checking account that would only earn the 0.03. The balance of the money that's sitting there now at 0.03 could be transferred to the ICS account and earn 5%. The 5% is not guaranteed. It's something that varies with the prime rate, but at the moment it's pretty much a buyer's market in respect to this. So we would get that 5%, be paid out as an interest payment monthly, added to the account, part of our earnings. And then at any moment, and because we are in such control of what's going to be spent out of the checking account, as soon as we know, we can transfer from the ICS account to the checking account to handle those additional amounts of expenditures and not draw the existing checking account below the, at this point, it's 43,000. It could vary a little bit up and down. And that way we're protected, not having to pay the fee. If we screwed up for some reason and didn't keep 43,000 in, we might have to pay a fee of $24 for that period. So it seemed like a pretty reasonable thing to do. I did take the liberty of going to make sure with our attorney that this was something that was legal and okay. And as far as he's concerned, it's fine. So the proposal is to be able to move forward with ICS and move everything beyond, let's just use round numbers, everything beyond 45,000 into the ICS account so we can earn that greater amount of interest. Still totally collateralized and protected, still within the realm of law with respect to what we're required to have, and still on the okay and up with our attorney.
Is there a reoccurring fee to have the account?
No, there's no fee on the ICS account. The fee comes in by going to analysis where if we don't keep that minimum of, let's say, 45,000, we would get charged a fee. But if we keep that in there, which we're already keeping, what, 245,000, that's the only time we get charged a fee is if we went below that. That's the way we understand it.
The ICS fund has to be at least 45.
At this point, yeah, that's a round number. It could be 43,
Okay, no, I just
295.
clarified which account had to be
Yeah, their
45.
number exactly was, I think I sent it, was 43,202. So, but could be a couple thousand one way or the other.
Is this calculation of our activities and creating a minimum amount, is that consistently active? Or is that something that's set annually, something like that?
They consistently analyze what we're doing in terms of the services that we're using, and that determines what this balance, $33,000 balance is supposed to be. We have to maintain and keep tabs on what we're going to spend out of that checking account, so we make sure we transfer the money from ICS to the regular checking account. That's our job, so that we can earn the 5% on the money that's sitting over on this side.
Is there a fee for closing out the ICS?
No, we can run it to zero and be done with it. There are absolutely no fees associated with the ICS account itself, none whatsoever.
So no risk then either.
There's no risk. There really is risk-free. And, it's about time they offered us, in my opinion. Leaving $300,000 at 0.03.
Yeah, it ends up working like it's not really a lot different than moving money from the checking account into your debit card account. I just go online and move it over.
It's just
And
an
we'd be doing the same thing.
instantaneous transaction, right? Really, it's like.
Yeah.
you
That was my
do,
understanding.
yeah, and it's done, yeah. Oh, that's clearly what they explained to us. So, I really think, it makes a lot of sense. We've been criticized, I understand, in the past for having these funds sit around doing nothing. It's fair to the taxpayers to do the best we can with the funds, I think. Any other discussions or comments on that?
I totally agree.
Okay, so all we need is the board to approve that we can do this. And it's a simple call to them to say, okay, the board in our meeting has approved us to move to the ICS process, and they'll do it.
And you need a dollar amount, right?
Yeah, do we know the exact balance right now?
Yeah.
That's in- it's
I
in the-
should have read it aloud and I
Oh, I'm
did.
sorry, okay.
It was my mistake when I made the financial report. The current balance before we pay tonight's bills is $288,162.93.
And you're gonna pay about 30 something,
36.55 and change.
let's call it 280 round figures. 280,
Yeah,
a little over 280. And of that, we wanna leave, and I'm gonna suggest 45, give ourselves a little cushion. So the difference is $243,000. That would move to ICS and earn 5% instead of 0.03.
I thought you said the limit for ICS was 190.
No, that
We
was,
just talked about
that was the erroneous number that we
Mhm.
had when we first did business with the branch manager.
Then they were talking
Who
about a
it
money
turned
market
out we weren't
account.
allowed to do it in that account. The bank wouldn't let us do that
there
account.
was it had to do with the municipality thing, like
Right.
Matt, the manager, was trying to help us do the best he can, and he said, I think we can do this.
He
I'm
got
gonna put it
it.
through and try,
It was
and
because he was calling, I'm sorry, now I'm interrupting you. He was saying we could put new money in, and he called the 190 from the school district. If he
Yeah.
called that new money, then he could
Mhm.
put that in a
That
money
was
market
where the
account.
190 figure came
that was
from.
the one
I
that
could've
could only
talked to you
take new
more.
money.
So is there a ceiling? Is there a limit to what we
On
can
the
put in?
ICS.
No,
No,
no limit at all. But if you start to draw down the existing checking account below the 45, 43, you may incur some fees. Now, we could do an analysis as to whether those fees are cheaper than if we put all the money into the ICS account. I don't have the expertise to do that off the top of my head, but I think they would help us do that.
Yeah, I don't think that's good to do with public funds, but, I think maybe we need a little more cushion than 45,
How much would you suggest?
60, 70. We gotta have something.
So you,
Well,
one
what-
question you
that's
had
it.
about the operating fund.
Yes.
Yeah, the regular checking account that we used to.
Okay.
Makes
Bear in mind, though,
Yeah.
the transfer is like instantaneous. So if something came up that we were going to exceed or draw that 45 down significantly, we could immediately transfer the money from the other account. I'm okay with a higher number. I mean,
I don't like the idea of an active calculation.
yeah,
of a
okay, I see.
Consistently changing
I
calculation.
see what you're saying. So yeah, maybe 60,
So leave 60. in
leave
the
60
checking.
in the original checking account, transfer the balance in the ICS account, and each month, as we determine what the expenditures are gonna be out of the regular account, make that transfer.
You are confident in the facts that we have. I mean, I know you've been giving conflicting facts, but you're confident in the facts as presented by the second person?
Yes, her name is Whitney Berger. She's the Vice President of Municipal Banking Relationships. And she was very lucid, made it very easy to understand, spent a fair amount of time with
Good
us in
time,
discussing
an
it.
hour and a half or something.
Yeah, it was a good meeting, and it was clear that, they really wanted to try to do something for us, and they were suggesting this made a lot of sense. So I have no qualms about that, and hey, if we smell something that doesn't look right as we get in, we'll just take the money back out and put it in their account, but I can't see how that's gonna happen, it just isn't, they wouldn't, I can't see the bank suggesting this without protecting themselves in some way. So 60, do you think that's a reasonable? Yeah, I'll go for 60. I'm
Yeah.
okay with that. Is everybody else okay with 60 on that? Okay. So, what we need is to approve the ability to enter into the ICS account relationship with Glens Falls National Bank. And we will transfer anything in excess of $60,000 into the ICS account at the next available opportunity. Can I make that as a form of the motion? All right, that's my motion. Second,
I'll second.
okay, further discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye? Okay, all right. Okay, now, we're getting to Marion's stuff. Sorry, Marion, but we had to get the money out of the way.
Oh, you're fine.
So we want to discuss hours of operation and the hiring of staff. And then we want to discuss the groundskeeper bid package. You have these in a different order, but is that okay the way we order we have them, or you want to do the grounds?
We can do either way.
Well,
You
let's
have
do-
your paperwork for both.
Yeah.
I have a couple of things for, hours of operation.
Okay.
And,
Take us through it.
this may be quicker. I gave you a sheet that it shows you the proposed hour change. It's mostly rearranging the hours. It's a total of 38 hours. You only need to be open 35 to be in compliance. I know there's been some concern expressed about me not being able to work 40 hours. That's not an issue. The issue is more likely keeping it to 40 hours a week. And I've made a little note there. Claire and I have been keeping track of the people coming into the library. We still see very little activity after 6 o'clock. I also reached out to Jill at sales, and she sent me a report that goes back to January 1st, 2021. So we have a little over 3 years. It's when books are checked out. And after 6 p.m., we see a dramatic drop. And it's very similar, the amount of checkouts after 6 p.m. on Wednesdays and Thursdays when we are open are very similar to the checkouts that are happening on nights that we're not even open. So that would indicate that those are ebooks being checked out and not physical books. So I'm proposing that we rearrange the hours to be consistent Tuesday through Friday of 10 to 6. Normally Friday we're 11 to 5. So that would be adding 2 hours to Friday. And then Saturday, leave it at 10 to 4. Saturdays tend to be quiet unless we have programming going on. And then those 2 hours would give Claire and I 2 hours a week to start working on some of these projects that we just don't feel are appropriate to be doing when patrons could possibly walk in, like shifting books, carrying stuff from the basement, being upstairs to start organizing things. So the 40 hours can still be very easily done. But we're just not seeing the traffic after 6 PM, but on Friday, we've had people come in like right at 5 o'clock, and if we were open a little bit later, I think we might get a little bit more on Fridays.
That's not the case on Saturday?
It has not been. Saturdays has been pretty quiet. I don't know if that will change as the summer people come in. But I mean, right now, it's also just Claire and I. And for us as well, and I mean, it backs it up, but the 10 to 6, dispersing the hours out more evenly is more handleable. Those 10-hour days get long, and weeks like this, we have 3 of them in a row. But also, I'd rather be open when patrons are coming, and that 10 to 6 seems to be the hot spot, and our busiest time is right after school. Is when that's our busiest time.
I appreciate the fact that you got stats and you went by based on stats to get this. I mean, that's obviously the best way to do it.
Right.
Saturday is interesting to me, that Saturday would be the lower day than the other days. So I think that.
Well, if they come in the morning,
Right,
and then like after 12, it's just kind of,
yeah. So I'm willing to go with whatever you suggest as the library manager, as long as we're constantly looking at those stats and we're willing to change the hours. We're not
absolutely.
We're not dead set on Saturday being a low day if we find that in the summer, hey, it's.
Absolutely, and that will actually lead right into the other part of the discussion is once we hire someone else, that would also make it much more feasible to have more extended hours if it's wanted. I have a survey, but I'm on hold because of the strategic planning. We don't want to overwhelm or confuse the community members, where I'm asking some very, very specific, my survey is very specific because I have some ideas for programming in mind. I'm hoping maybe September-ish I can release that. And we'll see. And if we get a lot of feedback that says, hey, the most convenient time for me to come is 7 o'clock on a Friday night, we'll look at that. You know, everything to me, it's fluid, but I think for right now, those hours work the best for us.
So you're gonna continue tracking stats?
Absolutely.
So here's my selfish concern. People with jobs far away, I couldn't get, except for Saturdays, the only time I could ever even get here to pick up a book. Okay, so, I mean, that maybe, if, that's just me, maybe I'm the only one in the community who
No,
doesn't get home
you're
before
not. I
6.
won't say that we don't get any traffic, but it's very minimal.
very low,
It
yeah.
is not
I'm just wondering if
uncommon
it,
for us to not see anybody after 5:30 on a Wednesday or Thursday night.
yeah, so maybe if there was one day that you
Yeah.
open later.
I had a question too about there not being any, so the suggestion is that there wouldn't be, we wouldn't be open until 8 any day.
Right.
So my question would be, how do you see that affecting groups who have their meetings here in the evenings?
You mean like the strategic committee?
Or other groups who, you know,
Well, right now, there aren't any others other than the strategic and the budget committee, and obviously we can have those meetings. We actually have a program in August, I think it is, 1 second, Craig, that is actually gonna go past 6 o'clock, so we would have special hours that night to accommodate.
Sure, so if you wanted to have a movie or something.
Oh, absolutely, oh, yeah, we can, who says we can't have special hours
well,
for a
how
special
do we,
occasion?
are we gonna post different hours every week or every 2 weeks or?
No, but if we were having a special program.
A special program like that, but if we're gonna keep looking at stats and, you know, be open to adjustment, I mean, I kind of, should we wait to do something until we have our third person? I totally hear what you're saying. I'm just trying to figure out, do we want to set hours and then set hours again and then change the hours and set them again? Or can we wait? Would it be okay to wait a little bit longer to see till we have a third person and we're
Do you have any
sharing
idea
well?
when we might get that third person?
I think that's part of our discussion tonight.
It is.
The discussion.
You had something?
There was concerns about changing the evening hours might restrict certain kinds of people being able to come. And something that isn't really possible to reflect in just the numbers is the kinds of people who are actually coming in at those late hours, very few of them. And they tend to be people we also already see in those early hours. They
Okay.
come very frequently.
Mhm.
I don't think that we would be restricting access, at least anyone who doesn't already see the library. And the only people we would be technically restricting access to are people who are, as of present, aren't aware of the library.
Correct, okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with these hours, and I personally think that 38 hours, giving you two some time to do things that you can't do when when patrons are in the library also makes sense, like coming to these meetings, which is, it's not every week, but it happens, and it's 2 hours, so.
Right, I
That
think
makes
it
sense to me.
alleviates one of our issues, definitely. Maybe it's best for us to have summer hours and, off-season hours as well, maybe in the
Right.
future. I definitely agree with what Ree's saying, that we don't want to be wishy-washy. We
Right,
don't
Well,
wanna say,
absolutely not. No, I mean,
3 o'clock this day, 2 o'clock this day.
No. Well, I have been told that, opening up at the same time every day does create less confusion for people.
For sure.
I've had people, I came in one Friday and I had a crowd on the porch because they thought we opened at 10 and we don't open till 11.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, I have to consult my sheet every time.
Yeah, I do too.
right, and it's very confusing. This would be more consistent and obviously,
Only one day is different, yeah.
one day's different, it closes earlier. And again, if we want to do something special, we can have special hours. We can say, hey, on such and such a date, we're gonna do a movie night, so the library is going to be open an extra 2 hours or something along that line. Same thing when we have the meetings. I mean, they are open to the public, but right now the library is closed. The
Right.
library closed a half hour before we started,
Right.
but it's open to the public because it's a meeting.
That's
It's gonna be the same thing for those meetings. The library will close at 6 o'clock, but the public's still welcome to come in and sit and listen in.
Right.
But the library is technically
So
closed.
Memorial Day is Monday. That's when people really start coming out. What if we wait 1 month? Get the stats for that month with campers up and then go from there. I imagine the stats are gonna be the same, but it would
Yeah,
allow us to
some
have
people
some
are
stats.
already up here, so,
Yeah.
but.
And what about does it change when school's out, though? Like, kids have more opportunity and more time to come in, do you think?
I'm not sure how that will work. I can tell you that, and I'll ask Claire to weigh in too, because she's worked here before for the last year while we were open for part of the year. I clerked here for almost 2 years and I work the night shift, even in the summertime. And, it was dead. I don't know what it is after 6 o'clock, but people just aren't interested in coming to the library unless there was a
There.
special program. Unless there was some kind of a special program going on, they didn't come. They just didn't. So I don't know. And I believe Claire said she had experienced the same thing.
Yeah,
Wait,
my
wait.
time here last year, the summertime definitely brought a lot more people, but it just sort of accentuated the existing trend. It didn't really change it.
And I imagine that's what we would see. It is probably the best idea, especially to make everyone at the board feel comfortable, more comfortable, I should say. I don't know if they'll feel comfortable, more comfortable to get those stats for 1 more month probably. I think, but I imagine they're gonna stay the same.
Right, well, I mean, that's what Jason asked of me last month, was to go 1 more month
For
and to
sure.
do some more research.
For
and
sure.
I've done that,
I know you have.
and now you're asking me to do it again.
We won't ask again, I
Well,
promise.
but the
I
season's
won't ask
changing.
again.
I mean, I just think it's an awkward time of year, because of the summer pop coming in and because of school being, coming out in June, that's a difference. And also, still the idea of our third person is still on the table.
Right, and I don't know when that's gonna happen.
Well,
I-
we're working, that's what
Right.
we're working towards.
Right, yeah,
on
no,
our-
I know.
On our list for tonight. I'm just saying those might be reasons to, I don't know.
I won't ask you to take it down the road another time, but I think it probably is responsible to wait till after Memorial Day, get some stats and just make sure it doesn't change again.
Okay, well, Memorial Day is this weekend.
Right. So you'll be able to have.
So in other
1
words,
month.
have a month of after Memorial Day.
Right, of when people typically come to the area, and I know, that's not what you want, I'm sorry.
No,
Any other discussion? I mean,
I mean, if it stays like it is, then it continues with, at least once a month, there's 2 hours of overtime times two.
It is not sustainable, for sure. If
No.
we have the issues, if we have the standing that we are saying that we have, and then you are having to work those hours, I completely understand it's not sustainable. I just want to make sure we're doing what's best for the public, obviously.
Right, we want to do what's best for the library, and, I don't want to sound arrogant in any way, shape, or form. It's not what I'm intending to do, but Claire and I are your best assets right now. Without us, the library wouldn't be open, and I don't want either one of us to get burnout.
Mhm.
That's my other concern.
Do you think you'd get burnout in the next month?
I don't know. I don't see predict the future. These last few weeks have been very hectic, but we've got a lot of, on top of getting files organized, and then the foils, and now there's the strategic plan and the budget.
For sure.
And it's taken me 3 days to put that manager's report, and I took it home and worked on it over the weekend.
Mhm.
I probably put in another 4 or 5 hours over the weekend of my own time to do it.
That's what it takes.
But I'm just saying that I just want to make sure that doesn't happen.
So I don't want you to take it like we don't care about that work. We appreciate you. We value the work that you've put in. I think what we're looking for is we want to make sure that we have what's best for the community as far as hours. That's kind of a big deal. It's a
Oh, it
big
is, and
variable
I
in all
don't
this.
disagree with you. That's why we have to keep track of the stats because we need it for the annual report. But we've done this forever, and it's not just the last 3 months.
For
Claire and
sure.
I are also pulling from our experience working here as a clerk. We both work nights. I worked here from the July of 2020 to April of 2022, stepping down only because my father passed. But if I saw one person, I had a crowd
Yeah.
after 6 o'clock.
So would it, to go back to, supporting you and, what you've already pulled together and trying to make sure that we have all of our bases covered, does it make sense that if we can move toward the third person, if we can focus on getting that third person in, that would change a lot? I mean,
Yes, it
that
would.
would change a lot. So maybe we should let that be our focus, is getting that third employee here, and then letting that help move the schedule, because it would change things significantly for the two of you to have a third person.
Yeah, I think there's multiple pieces to the puzzle, and I
Yeah.
think doing multiple things to alleviate some of the issues is probably a good thing. So going back to your plan and hiring a third person, I think both of those are really good.
I do have a rough plan that I put it's a mock schedule. Nothing is written in stone. I did put 40 hours for me. Claire's at 38, but that is so she can come in. Actually, she is at 40 because I did make a change, and I didn't change the total. My apologies. But I have her, as of right now, coming in 2 hours before opening, but this is based on the 9 to 6, being open 10 to 6, that's based on those hours. Obviously, those would change. And then the third person coming in, I'm looking at about 25 hours, because I'm hoping come back to school time, and of course, that would give us the summer to get he or she well acclimated with the library and whatnot. I've listed it there. I have a lot of ideas for programming for after school. For kids of all ages. Saturday morning story time really is geared to like 2nd grade and under. All are welcome, but that's the crowd that's gathered. And I just really my ultimate goal is while preserving the sanity of the library staff.
And that's apparent, and you're doing a very good job.
Well, thank you.
But
Just trying.
I definitely want to take my role seriously and make sure that we're doing what's right. We don't want to jack up the hours and then, figure out afterward that it was bad and then have to change it back, have to change it another time. So I think just one more month because of Memorial Day, just give us that opportunity. And then I think I would be willing to make my vote would mean a lot more to me at that point if we had to do that.
I guess then the next thing is how quickly can we start the process of hiring a third person?
It's important
What's the matter with?
Yeah,
Oh,
I think
It's
we
on
should-
the agenda. It's on the
Right, I think
agenda.
the biggest hurdle that I don't have information for is, and I don't know if we have that information, or if it can be discussed here, is, what we can pay the person.
I would think
That
that,
would be part of
Executive
the,
session.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
executive
that's what I
session.
figured. But that would be part of the advertisement for the job, you know.
sure.
Is, you know, this is what we're looking for. And I've been working with Erica on that to really help nail down, the job description, because I don't know if I'm reinventing the wheel. But I'm not necessarily looking for just another clerk, and I'm not really looking for just a program director. I like being involved with the programming, but it's a lot for me to do it alone.
Mhm.
So more of a clerk / program assistant. Like I said, I don't know if I'm reinventing the wheel, but that's kind of where I've come up with it.
Okay,
Claire does phenomenal with the front desk. She is like an assistant to me. You know, she helps me get reports and stuff that I need to help free up my time for other things. She's been very, very valuable in that degree, and she's excellent in that role. I don't see her as youth services director, and she doesn't want it. We talked about it. And I know I had the degree in education, and I love working with the kids. I love it when the kids from the school district come in and they're like, hey, it's Mrs. Allen. You know, I love it, and I'm delighted to see them. So I still want to have my hands in it, but like I said, it's just, I'm juggling a lot of plates in the air, and I noticed this week that I've dropped a couple.
Mhm.
And,
So have you been able to put together a job description?
I'm working on it.
Okay,
okay. And that person, you're looking for a salary range, and that can be determined in the budget workshop,
Yes.
because we'll be able to know, I think, next time exactly what salaries are in
Right,
total for that line as we had.
right, but how will
we've
that
broken that
affect
down
if we
for
hire somebody
people
in
taking various
before the new
contracts.
budget takes over?
Right.
That's
So,
my,
yeah, so I think that number we can certainly come up with on the 30th, for sure. The other issue is, I'm presuming that new employee definitely becomes a part-time employee,
yes,
because, and I've tried to find out exactly what the rules are about what hours constitute full-time and part-time, and I've gotten different answers from
I can help with that.
state and.
my husband,
I'm sorry, I don't want to talk out of turn, but I can help with that. Full-time is 30 hours or more
Okay,
by federal law.
by federal law,
Okay,
right. And then I think it's about the same in.
When, for my business, when we hire a part-timer, we give them no more than 28 hours.
Okay,
Okay, and that's pretty much standard. Also, you need
you're
to put,
25.
by New York state law, your salary range has to be put into the help wanted ad.
Sure, and we have to determine that as we go.
Right.
And that's also going to determine what level civil service position that is.
right,
So there's those factors that have to be factored in.
right.
If we determine that number and all by the 30th, does that give you enough time then to move forward, getting your description and,
Oh, I'm hoping to have a job description together before then.
okay. And so
I just ran out of time for tonight.
the number for the salary then will fall in place when we look at the budget. Is that,
Yeah.
yeah,
So the consequence of that is that we kick the can till the end of next month before we can hire a person.
Mhm.
yeah,
And that's.
So
the
under
key.
those circumstances, I'm more likely to say, let's adopt the new hours.
Wait, would we
If we're
have
saying
to,
we have to wait another month.
but would it have to be a whole month? If in our budget meeting, we ascertain what we can allot for payroll, which would be based on statistics that we have from before, when we had 3 people. We'd have an idea to plug in, and we could move forward with that, right? I mean, if at the budget meeting, we say, look,
Here's the
we
salary.
had, $90,000 in salaries, and, the last time we had 3 people, we could, I just pulled that number out.
yeah,
We could provide for that, and that would give us a foundation to move forward on.
We have excess money hanging around that we're putting in ICS accounts.
Well,
I said, let's hire someone yesterday.
I was under the impression actually when I was hired that was gonna be very quick. And.
Well, we had to wait for civil service approval from, we were waiting on a whole bunch of things we thought we needed to wait on, so we can move forward now, that's all good.
Right, but, yeah, but I have, you gave me a copy of last year's budget.
Yep.
And the line item, and it's just wages and salaries, And underneath it, everything else is itemized, you know, the insurance stipend and everything else is separate.
Right.
And I'm going to guess that we are way below that because Courtney did not take a salary for
Significant
a
amount of time.
significant amount of
For
time.
sure,
And,
yeah,
you know,
for
we had other
sure.
people quit,
No
so.
question about it.
So the question is, can we determine an hourly wage for the person that Marion wants to hire so that,
We can hire them
so that we
promptly.
can hire them
Right away.
quickly?
Right.
And not wait till, for 2 more weeks to decide what the wage is gonna be and then go back to Marion and then she
Okay.
can advertise.
Okay.
But do we have to do that in an executive session?
Yes.
Can we-
We've talked about wages outside.
Okay, 'cause we're not talking
about
There's
personnel.
Specific things that we
It's
go
not
to
an
executive
individual.
session for, and I don't.
I don't think so.
No.
Okay.
No, we can't. So
So
do you have a
have you,
proposal?
yeah, have you looked into,
What would you put?
I've looked into it somewhat and, I've got some sample job offerings from Erica to write that up. I haven't written it up, because I ran out of time for today. But I've been looking at it and, I mean, Erica told me that based on our budget, that we could pay someone anywhere between $20 and $26 an hour. And I'm just like, well, I'm not paying somebody more than I'm making. Don't need to be.
or more than Claire's making?
Exactly, I agree, because I want to be fair,
Right.
and Claire has been, you know,
Well, we can't name a salary till we have a job description, it seems to me. I mean, you
well,
can't
they're
just.
gonna be a front clerk and they're gonna help with library programming,
I
like, you
know, but
know.
I think they go together. I don't think you assign a salary or a pay per hour without a job description.
No, I agree with that,
I think we have a general understanding of the description, enough to come up with a salary though.
right.
And so what is the current clerk rate that we're paying? Is it 17? Or
Claire
was
was
that, was
Claire,
that the advanced pay? I
No.
don't recall.
Claire was, we finally found all the notes and whatnot. She was at 1710, and that was her raise, and then the advanced amount was while she was running the library here by herself was 1925.
1710.
So
Yeah,
she's at 1710 right now, and the
What's minimum
minimum
wage right now?
15,
15.
so that's not big money, but,
So somewhere around 16.
yeah.
I mean, we
Would
could
have to
fix that.
be-
We could call it.
Right, it would be, yeah, and if we wanted, if that needs to be higher, then I would just say that maybe we want to consider raising Claire a little bit.
But if you would start out with an offer for people at 16
I
at
don't,
this point and see what you get.
we can try that, yes.
Okay.
Well, it's
And-
hard, I mean,
Well, I mean, when I clerked here before, I was a clerk, Pat Lewandowski was a clerk, and Megan Cohen was a youth services director who sometimes clerked. And a lot of libraries have them. I know we're a smaller library. And I'm not necessarily asking for somebody to be the program director, just to help me.
Mhm.
You know, I'm doing pretty good with coming up with the ideas. It's always nice to have another brain to do with that.
So help us to figure out the background of what you're saying. Are you saying that you want someone to make more money, or what's your motive behind saying that?
Well, I mean, just Rita said they weren't two separate positions, and they can be, and they have been in the past here. Youth services, if we want a lot of programming, it's gonna take somebody to really be able to focus on it. I don't have time to focus on it, I have time to work on it, but I have many other administrative duties that I have to do. So I'm looking for someone to help me with programming, someone who can come up with crafts and stuff like that. And I think it is a lot like a program director, but if you give them that title, that comes usually with a higher pay rate. I know Megan made more money than I did as youth services director than I did as a simple clerk.
I would say we hire a clerk and we tell them, you're gonna be expected to help plan events at 16 bucks an hour. And if in the future, we're like, whoa, this person's like knocking our socks off, we can have those conversations at that point in time.
Okay.
But that'll get us started. That'll get this ball rolling and we don't have to wait another 2 weeks or whatever. And I'm
Right.
sure from all the numbers we've looked at so far in the budget workshops, that will fit within the salary range.
Mhm.
I mean, you've got a gross number, but there are numbers behind that Terry can
Oh,
provide.
they're listed separate,
Yeah, yeah,
but yeah,
all right. So proceed to hire a clerk at $16 an hour.
Will we have to approve the actual description, or are we saying just a clerk description with the understanding that, that they're going to be doing some planning, that kind of thing?
Yeah, I think
Assisting with
they're-
Right,
they're-
well, I mean, when I was a clerk, I helped out with it. I mean, I did.
So let's just go with a general clerk description.
That'll be in the civil service.
It'll be in the
It'll
civil
be a civil
service. I
service
believe that Trish sent that
Yeah.
to me. And I do have the list. I will have to check and see if it's still valid, that there were 2 other people besides Claire. And then I don't know if it's something we can do tonight, but I've mentioned it a couple of times of appointing Claire. She has never been officially appointed
Right.
since she's been hired and she's passed the civil service.
Right, so is that that's not something we are gonna officially have to adopt as a board, because it is the civil service description of a clerk, and you're gonna go by that description at $16 an hour and start the process immediately, is that
Yes.
the agreement of everyone at the table?
Yeah, I think so, absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. And then, do we want to take up the issue that Marion is suggesting in terms of appointing Claire?
That's executive.
That's
session.
executive session.
Yeah, that definitely would be executive session.
Mhm.
So, do we want to postpone that till we do the other thing and then go into executive session? We got one more thing we have
Yes.
to talk about.
Yep, sounds good.
Okay,
So what are we gonna do?
so we're gonna hold, everyone's agreement that Marion's gonna
Marion's gonna
proceed
proceed.
at $16 an hour for a clerk, up
Yes,
to 25 hours a week, based on the schedule ratio.
right.
Second part of that was she wanted to discuss appointing clerk currently. We have to go into executive session to do that. We will do that right after public comment.
Hours conversation is going to get postponed until next month, is that what we're all in agreement on?
Well, I thought you said if
Library
we were gonna
hours?
proceed
Yes.
right away. Yes,
The hours,
the hours,
the hour
the change
conversation.
in hours, yes, okay. One more month, you'll be happy.
Yeah, I would be a yes vote now, but I would be a lot more emphasized yes after we see some stats from, and I don't think they're gonna change, but I think Ree's concerns are valid and we should listen to them.
All right, so that will definitely be item number 1 on old business next time. Okay, so we will go to executive session after public comment tonight. That was not on the agenda, but we can do that because we're the board.
It's on there, actually.
Right, so the last thing is, for new business was the groundskeeper bid package. Now, you've given us
Yeah,
a
I
number
found
of pages. What are we looking at here?
this is just a template that I found online to fill in. We've had some discussion via email of what we're looking for. I've reached out to, Erica at Sales for some guidance. And basically, we want it to be very, very specific. Is what we want, and I have tried to do that. If you guys have something you want to add or change the wording, I have some notes at the bottom, for things that we need to discuss. And then the other 2 are just because we talked about, fixing up the backyard. I know some companies that will do groundskeeping, they're also landscapers. But it may be, but I've been told that it's a separate thing. But I just figured I'd throw that out there. And then I just saw something else as part of being, keeping of the grounds would be maybe to wash the exterior of the building once a year.
That's something that's not done now, right?
No, to my knowledge, that's not being done, nor is landscaping. And I figured we could discuss if we wanted it to be 3 separate things or all one. It would probably depend on who we contract with. And I put out a question to Erica, not gotten a response yet. Exactly how we go about this. I mean, am I gonna get on the phone call and call every landscaper in the area? Do we put a thing up on our Facebook or our website page to say, hey, we're looking for bids?
Well, I think it needs to be published. It's not, put it on the website, but it also needs to be published.
So that you can maybe publish it in the paper.
Advertise it.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Okay.
We gotta have to- But it seems to me that, that these operations all should be combined under one contract. Why would you bid them separately? What-
Because these other, the 2 second 2 pages, the landscaping and the cleaning are like one-time things.
Oh, I see.
Possibly
This doesn't have,
annual.
okay.
Right.
Where the other one is a
This is the
maintenance
ongoing, this is
contract.
what Green Acres does
Mhm.
now,
Mhm.
or plus
Right.
more. of
Right.
course,
Yes,
yeah,
and
okay.
their contract ends, and I believe all they do, I can go get the handwritten contract if you'd like, but,
No,
We've all seen it.
it's just, I mean,
Yeah.
he does the snow removal, he puts the ice melt down. I know we provided, but Claire said that we, I guess he bought it and we had to reimburse him. I'm not sure, we weren't here. But that's one of the things that I put a question mark on. He does minimal. I mean, he
Yeah.
rakes, he mows. I usually know when he's mowed because I come in and the back ramp is full of leaves.
So
So,
Well, so
he's done at the end of
and
this
again,
year.
yes,
So this has got to get,
yeah, we gotta get this out
He
there.
has the option to be a potential bidder, though.
Yes,
That's
he
like
does.
the option. We're putting it out to bid, we're not saying you're
No.
fired, we're
no,
just,
no, no.
we're
Right,
putting it
no,
out to
we
bid, he can be
legally
a
have to
bidder,
put it
right?
out for bid.
So,
And we have to determine how we want to accept. Do we want this to be a closed bid? Do we want to go the highest, the lowest, somewhere in between? You know, what's our criteria for choosing? I mean, that being said, if it's at all possible, and I don't know what all the rules and regulations are that, I would love it to be somebody local. And I
That
know
would be
Green
good.
Acres is not the only one that's local.
There are others.
You know,
Oh,
we're
definitely.
part of the community,
Sure.
so if it's possible, I know bids matter. I'm assuming we have to go with the lowest bid.
Unless there's good reason,
Right,
otherwise,
well, yeah,
right. And we would want to do some, vetting.
right, but I mean, but as a whole, what I put on here for things to be done, does that look specific enough to everybody? And then, like I said, I've got some questions, you know, who provides the ice melt, the seed and the fertilizer. And then I know there's been some discussion about where do we want the debris to be put, you know, leaves and the pine cones and the trimmings, because I've got on here to trim trees and bushes, because it gets very overgrown in the driveway.
we're currently dumping it in like the,
Over the
Right.
bank.
I believe they're gonna put it
Over
over
the
the
bank.
bank.
so the mowing twice a month might not be sufficient. So
Okay.
we should definitely look at that. And then the fertilization, annually, I think it's usually done twice a year. And
Okay.
we usually try to put out a program where it's more
As a
consistent,
gardener, I
Right.
have 2 black thumbs.
right?
Okay. So we find that. Where did it go? I just,
And the person, we want to be prepared in case they are, like Ree was saying, where they're not interested in landscaping, they're only interested in mowing. So like the weed flower beds, we'll want to put and mulch with that as well. But
Okay.
we should have the potential for it to be 2 separate contracts if need be. And that might even be a better fit on that second page to make sure that, it's a once a year thing and not, multiple time, it's a reoccurring thing. The trimming bushes and trees is needed, there's specific times when you should do that, spring and fall. So we wouldn't want them hacking in all the time.
right,
But just my concern is saying, hey, we're not ready yet, let's wait another month to put this together and then not having the contract, so we should.
right. No, well, that's why.
I've got an electronic pen here, not a
That's-
handwritten one, but.
That's
but
why
we
we
need
tried to have
Put some of this down and.
everything that Reed put in there, I put on this, and then I added some stuff.
Yep.
But we asked for input, and I tried to put everything that
Yep.
everybody had suggested.
So
onto
It,
this,
it
plus
looks,
some of my
it
own.
looks great, it really does, very good, and then, I think Ree was talking about the height of the grass too, to be cautious.
Yeah,
of
one of
that.
my thoughts was not just like every week or every 2 weeks, but to mow.
As needed,
Yeah, and I don't know what the inch, you're not
it's
supposed to
different
mow.
depending on the time of
It
year.
is, and
Right,
so
well, I know sometimes they have to
hopefully,
mow every week, but,
in times of drought, you don't mow as low because it'll dry everything out. So if we're going 2 weeks with very little rain, you don't
so we want this,
mow short that week. I
so
know
we want
that
this
much.
as needed.
But
Yeah.
maybe the person, that we talked, that bids, I mean, it's their business, they would probably know those answers and could share them with us more
Right,
than I would.
Sure, and if
know.
it's raining more or it's not, but maybe we can just say, keep front, side and backyard mowed.
Well, sometimes these things say to a certain number of inches, to 3 inches or to
Can
4
we be
inches.
vague and let them be specific?
Yeah, I would
Can
think
we, can
so.
we just be general and maintain the grounds and then have a conversation? Can we
I don't
approve
know.
that so we can move forward with
I don't
this?
know, it's been recommended that we be very specific what we want
Who
done.
recommended it?
Erica, I don't know what to say her last name.
Well,
So-
I think every contract we engage in should be specific,
Right.
for sure, but that's.
This
that
is
list
getting the
pretty-
ball rolling.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yes,
If we kick the can on this, it's gonna be a whole other month before we can have this
right,
conversation.
which means we could go the month of July without it being mowed.
You're right. Have to get some goats or
So
something. It's
is-
not-
I've
We
got
got
goats, I
enough.
got goats.
You got goats, you bring it down.
have we got enough of the suggestions that were made in order to put together the bed spec?
Right,
Do you have enough at this point?
say that
Do
again.
you have enough from what's been
I
discussed?
think so, if everybody
Get
is in
together.
agreement, I've made the changes
Okay.
here.
so we're taking
Um,
the pressure washing of the building and landscaping off of that list.
Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
on that list, it's
Right.
separate.
These are I think the way
Three
you did it is
separate-
perfect.
three
It's
separate-
3 separate bits, so we can actually get numbers and decide whether that's something that's good to do. But I would just, I would move more toward a vague take care of walkways. That means edging and blowing them off, getting the grass off, like you're saying there's leaves everywhere. I would do that, just so we're not so specific where we're nuts and bolting it here tonight.
Yeah.
And we're not able to make any decisions.
You know,
And then when we have somebody nuts and bolts it with that,
Exactly.
like,
Okay.
this is what this means to us.
Yeah.
and I would want them to provide the ice melt, the fertilizer, so I mean.
I would think so
Yeah,
too.
I do too.
Absolutely. We don't want to be involved running somewhere to buy that and giving it to them.
And it tells you a lot about the person based on what they say they want to do and what the expectation is coming from their side too, so.
Right, yeah, well, we've had to, I guess in the past, we've provided the ice melt.
Mhm.
And to my knowledge, it doesn't look like that backyard has ever been weeded and seeded. It's been a long time, because
Yeah.
bare spots, and
Mhm.
it's a shame, because it's a beautiful space.
It's got a great view.
The debris, et cetera, are we fine with it just going over the bank, or do we want it hauled someplace else?
I personally am okay with it, but
Yeah, I'm certainly okay with especially leaves and grass and, I wouldn't put,
we don't want
branches
trash.
there. Or even if we're doing tree trimming, I wouldn't put branches there
What
necessarily.
bank are we talking about?
On the
The
side there.
ones just past the benches out there that.
So if you're standing out there looking at the river, can you see it?
No, it's over the
I don't know,
back.
I haven't gone out there.
I feel a little, I know it's all compost, I read your note, it is compost, it's all good for the earth, I just don't think it's I think it's on the line of throwing things into the river. I don't want to set that example as a community member that people can just be, chucking all their refuse over the bank into the river. I don't think we should do it. I mean, it's not the mountain I'm gonna die on or that I want to die on, but I would prefer to see the refuse removed.
Can I make a comment? I definitely wouldn't put anything over that thing. You get somebody comes in here and chemically treats this lawn, then mows it. Now you're putting chemical in the river. Now you're gonna
I
have
don't
the
think
APA and
anything should
everybody
come.
coming.
Good
to
point.
making a good decision.
Yeah, you're right. I wasn't thinking
Yeah.
about chemicals
Okay,
at
so we
all.
want it hauled away.
On your trailer, go out of here.
Remove all.
Yeah.
Everything gets removed.
Okay.
I wasn't thinking about chemicals. You're right.
Today.
Yeah, we don't want them in the river.
Good point.
Good point.
Thank you.
So is there any vote that's required to get that rolling?
No, I don't
Get
think
the
so.
contract going?
We'll just have final approval.
I will make
After we get
edits
the bids.
and I will, email it to you guys.
Yeah.
And then we'll just,
Two
We could
days.
we could comment if there
And
was
then,
minor things.
then what paper do we want to advertise it in?
Obviously, the post.
Well, of course.
Okay.
I don't know who's gonna
Do
see
you,
it.
do you
I
invoice?
want the Chronicle.
The Chronicle.
Chronicle,
we've had a close relationship with the Chronicle
Yeah, I
in the
think the
past as well.
okay.
Still
Those are
fill
the
out.
two?
I think those are the only two that the library has historically used.
Okay, the only reason I asked him, and I know it's not his department, but for invoicing is if we have to prepay, we need to figure out how we're gonna do that.
But
We
we'll
can-
add some money to the debit card for now.
Or we can write a check.
Or we
We
can
can
write a
still
check.
use checks,
Yeah, they'll
with
take
two
a check.
signatures, so. we
Yeah,
can
that's
do
not
that.
like on our,
Okay.
that's local.
So I'll find out how much it costs to add it, and then I'll let you know.
Sure.
And then you'll have to set a certain time for the bids to be returned. And then we have to say, are we gonna open them publicly or, how are we gonna handle that piece of it?
So you can advertise
Well, it's
that
all
we're
about getting
accepting
bids.
groundskeeping bid,
Oh,
and they can
They
look
have
for
to
the
come back at a
details
certain
on the
point.
website.
And will we do that as a bid opening process in a special meeting, or do you wanna do it in the next one? We're already at 9:00 in this meeting.
I know, man.
It's like,
Who's eating dinner yet? Not me.
Not me.
I say, time is of the essence. If we need to call a special meeting just for the purpose of reviewing the bids and so on, we'll try to get everybody's schedule and we'll do it, and that's all we'll do. We'll look at the bids, we'll come over and then.
Right.
Okay, so what,
We need a
a
deadline.
deadline for when we
Deadline for
want
the bidding,
bids
right.
There
returned?
may be a legally required amount of time that this is out there or something, so let's look into that and let's just get it
Do
out
it.
there for the minimum and.
Minimum, right,
Okay.
yeah. minimum.
I will get this finished up and it will be my goal to have it done by the end of the week.
Okay.
Let's see what the standard is, what everyone typically does.
Right.
Go with it.
Everybody's okay with that?
Yep.
Okay. All right, we will allow a little public comment right now, and then we'll go into executive session on that other issue. Unless there's anything else for the good of the order right now. Okay, if you're gonna make public comment, please come up, state your name, tell us who you are, and make the comment. Please do. Okay, well, let's start with,
Go ahead.
yeah,
Janice Gordon, I'm really concerned, and only because I know, her time is coming up. I want to really thank Bree and all of the efforts and work she's put into the finances. It seems, it's clear when you explain things and the hours that you put in, and your efforts to help alleviate problems from the past so that anybody taking that role going forward will be smooth. I'm really appreciative of your time.
Thanks.
thank you. Roger?
And my name is Roger Nelligan. I live here in Lake Luzerne at 19 Church Street. And I served with the strategic committee for a very short period of time. But during that period of time, I did administrative work, that's my background. I looked into the laws, I looked into the previous plans that had been drawn up, not only here by Lake Luzerne, but Lake George and Corinth. And in that process, I came across a number of things relating back to the old administration. And I thought I should bring them to the attention of the board here so that we don't make the same mistake going forward. So I have four items that I just want to bring to your attention. The first one has to do with appointed executives. Under the past administration, the 2022 report to the state section under section 10, officers and trustees, named the board members holding the office of financial officer. At the monthly board meetings, this board member was identified as treasurer. The bylaws under Article 7, titled Appointed Executives, states, appointment. The board shall appoint a treasurer at the annual meeting who shall be the fiscal officer of the library, acting on behalf of the board and under its review and direction. The treasurer shall not be a current trustee of the library. There was obviously a misunderstanding on the part of the previous board about titles held by individuals. Under the report to the state, the board member should have been titled Vice President for Finance. The board member could not be treasurer under the bylaws. The board member could not be the financial officer, as the bylaws identify the treasurer as the fiscal officer. With the dissolution of the prior administration, appointments of new trustees and appointed executives were made. My question is, was the treasurer appointment made in addition to the new library director? But basically, what happens here is the bylaws say that a treasurer has to be appointed on the first meeting after July 1st.
Right.
But there's no provision in the bylaws that I found that would allow for a treasurer to be appointed within the fiscal year. And so I think that's a shortcoming perhaps of the bylaws, because when a trustee is vacated, the position is vacated, there's a whole provision there for appointing somebody in the interim until the next election. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention that
Will you leave those copies with us?
I'm going to give this all.
Okay, perfect.
Okay. So that was one item. The next item has to do with public meeting policy. Now, I did speak previously with some of the people here on the board, but just for everybody's knowledge here. The Rockwell Falls Public Meeting Policy can be found on the library's webpage under the webpage heading of the library. It is further located under subtopics of policy statements and then the heading of organizational policies, and finally, under the heading of conducting public meetings and public hearings. This policy is a copy of the New York State Open Meetings Law, and the pertinent section for this discussion is the topic, the Open Meetings Law on page 1, which states in part, what is a meeting? The Open Meetings Law defines a meeting as the official convening of a public body for the purpose of conducting public business. A public body is any entity for which a quorum is required in order to conduct public business and which consists of 2 or more members performing a governmental function for the state or for an agency or department thereof, or for a public corporation or committee or subcommittee, or other body of such public body. The following organizations, among others, are subject to the requirements of the Open Meeting Law: city councils, town boards, village boards of trustees, planning boards, zoning boards, etc., as well as their committees and subcommittees. To further clarify, a quorum is stated above as it pertains to the Rockwell Falls Public Library. A quorum for a library is defined in the bylaws under section 6, Article 6, section 6 as follows. Quorum. Majority of the full board shall constitute a quorum for the purpose of transacting business at all meetings of the board. A majority of the duly appointed members of any committee presented in the same manner shall constitute a quorum for the purpose of transacting business. On the public committee. The above establishes that committees are covered by the Open Meetings Law and adopted as library policy, have to meet the same standards as the official public body. The same library policy that establishes committees as inclusive goes on to state who may attend. The Open Meetings Law requires that meetings held by public bodies must be open to the general public. The bottom line is that a legal opinion isn't necessary for the board to notify the public of the strategic committee meetings that have been taking place or will take place in the future. The fact is that the library's own policies demand that such notifications have to be made public.
And
We
they,
have, we
And
have
they
made
do.
them public.
They're on the website.
We've made them public and they're on the website.
I'm sorry.
We've made those strategic planning committees
Okay,
meetings
but I
public.
wanted to bring it
Yes.
to your attention.
Yes, you
on
brought,
that.
and you brought it to our
It's in the
attention
bylaws.
and we made
and
them
we
public.
changed it.
And we changed it.
It's
And
on
the
the
same with the,
calendar. It's on the calendar, the website, they're open.
Now, typically, we allow 3 minutes for comment, and you've run quite long, and this meeting is running quite late. Is this something that you can just give us? Or do you want to make it public? And if you do, can you do it next time?
Well, I'm almost done.
I'll give you another minute.
Okay, thanks. This has to do with your earlier discussion with the audited financial statements. It says under officers and duties that in coordination with independent auditors selected by the board, ensure that an annual audited financial statement is prepared and filed. And my only concern there is, can we have that report on the webpage, just like other reports are? It's not required in the bylaws, but
No, it's not, but yes, we can. And I'm, in your interest of transparency, we probably will.
okay. And, well, I won't read this, I'll let you,
Okay,
uh,
what's the deal?
I did put together a draft report when I was on the committee, and I had requested that it be presented at the second meeting that we had, and it wasn't on the agenda, so the report never got distributed. So I have the copies that I had available are sitting on my dining room table, doing no good, and if they can be helpful, I'll turn them over to you.
Okay, thank you. All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Anyone else?
Tom,
I appreciate all the work
you girls have done on these FOIA requests. And it's answered some of my questions, but I hope that the community knows how important they were to get answered. Some of them I've had in for over 10 months. And obviously, it's taken you folks to get back on board, try to find some of these answers, to help calm the community down. And that includes me, of how illegal the money has been spent and how a lot of people that aren't here don't know how illegal things have been. And I just want to appreciate it. And I want to also appreciate your time, Reed, very much so. I'm actually sorry you're leaving. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tom O'Brien, although I think I speak for everybody here, the dedication that you guys and the whole board have shown tonight is well appreciated.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
I'll be real quick, Ken. You had mentioned that,
Just so everybody knows who you are.
okay, Roger Allen, sorry, Lotus Hadley. Since the oil requests are taken care of, I would go ahead and start getting compensated for the new ones moving forward, especially if you're gonna be doing them in a timely manner.
That's why I brought it up in the report, that should be henceforth considered an expense of the
Yeah.
requester.
Yeah.
Yeah,
In
and
addition
then
to
second,
copying.
just on filling your position, as a guy who does a lot of hiring, I'm a little concerned about the $16 an hour, with the position that you're looking for competitively in the area, that's more in the $17, $18 an hour range. You can obviously try it at 16, I just don't know if you're gonna get candidates. What I would do is work with the Warren County Career Center. They're great up there and they can put it out and probably get you a lot of exposure.
Thank you. Okay, public comment is closed. We need a motion to go to executive session or discussion of,
I so move.
second?
I second.
Okay, all in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Okay, folks, I don't know how long it will be, but when we come back, the only thing we're gonna do is close the meeting.
So you have the date for this month?
Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to say that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's June
It's,
18th, I think it is.
no, it's,
Stay on the third Tuesday.
Third Tuesday at 6:30.
yeah,
Yes.
5/21.
No, not 5:21, that's today.
No, it's 6/18, June 18th. It's June 18th is the next one.
Yeah.
Yes, and we will, as far as I know, we will have a special guest from sales with us.
It'll be the direction, yeah, that's right. 6/18.